Well, I have no introduction. I used to have an introduction, but I'll just start by saying welcome to the Doxcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Cool. Well, it was good, and for everyone listening as well, it's nice to know that we touched base before we started. We had probably about half an hour phone call.
Yeah, Alex asked me, he was like, how long did you guys speak for? I was like, I actually don't know, but it was a while.
Usually I'm like trying to keep it quick. People, I'm like, all right, just show up on time. I don't really know. But then this time I look down, I'm like, fuck, 30 minutes.
Time just is non-existent to me. Like, what even is time?
And even in that phone call, we're going like, yeah, that's what it means to like be one with things. I'm thinking, I haven't spoken this deep in weeks.
I know. It's easy for me to get real deep real quick. Some people might think I'm a bit of a spinner in that aspect, and probably why I can't relate to most shallow people out there, because I am such like...
Well, welcome to the Spinnercast.
I think that's what we're
doing here. Well, as we said, I wanted to fill everyone in who was listening as well, a little bit about you as well, so they are aware. But like, how old are you, and whereabouts have you spent most of your life growing up, something like that?
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm 27 years old. I spent most of my life growing up in Warners Bay, Newcastle. But yeah, I've moved around a little bit, travelled a lot.
Nice. I have to say, shout out to Alex too. Alex, he organised this episode. Shout out, thank you for hooking this episode up. He gave big praise for this episode. He said, I've got the best guest. It's going to be a great conversation. So shout out.
Shout out to Alex.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do know that you spent a lot of time traveling, and it was for a long period of time before you, how long was it in total that you were away for?
Honestly, I can't even remember the exact amount, but it was shy of a year. Just shy of a year.
Damn,
yeah. But I didn't really have many intentions of coming home, to be honest with you. Like I set out with no return date.
Yeah.
I remember booking my flight, and I booked 2 nights accommodation, and everything else was just spare of the moment. I had no plans. Absolutely nothing planned.
Damn.
Like, I sort of had in my mind, like, I just want to go on this journey and see where it takes me. I knew that I wanted to, I guess, go on a journey of self-discovery, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, no plans, no time constraints or anything like that.
Damn. All right. So I think it's something that most people want to experience in their life, traveling, especially for like no end date. Most of us don't travel. Most of us just go on a holiday once a year if we're lucky. It's definitely in my goals. I'd like to do it in I think I've decided in 3 years from now, I'm going to work out so I can just have a year off work and do exactly what you say. So whatever you say, I'm going to do. All right. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, was it scary making that decision to just go, fuck it, I'm going and I'm not deciding when I'm coming home?
Well, not really, because I guess for me, I always lived with no fear. It's only now at the age of 27 where I actually have like a little bit of fear toward the world.
Yeah.
I sort of like grew up very fearless. So making that decision was not scary at all. It was actually other people's like implementation of like, oh, like you got to be really careful. Like South America's really dangerous. Like, you don't know. Da, da, da. And I'm like, I'll be right. You know what I mean? And I think, I had no fear leaving at all. I knew that I had to do it. I had that like internal calling to go over there, and I always follow what my gut says. Like, I guess I don't really follow my head too much. I follow my gut always.
Nice.
So for me, no, it was easy. But getting over there, like I don't have much money or whatever, but I sold everything, absolutely everything that I owned, and packed up a little backpack and fucked off.
Damn, that's crazy to sell everything you own.
Yeah.
Like I'm scared to throw out clothes I don't wear in like 10 years. Like,
mate, I used to be so attached to material things. Like, I didn't want to get rid of anything. Like, my cupboard, I had hundreds of t-shirts, hundreds of dresses, hundreds of pairs of jeans, like hundreds of everything. Like, I had so much stuff, and I thought like, I just completely detached from it, because I knew I was at a point in my life where I'd been on a bit of a healing journey before I left already. And I just completely detached from everything that I owned. And I thought, I don't need any of this shit. I remember my girlfriends coming over and I was like, just take whatever you want. Some gave me some money for it. I sold some stuff, but most of it I was just like, just have it. Like, I just completely detached from everything.
So did you realize before you got to that point, like, this stuff doesn't actually make me happy? I don't need or want this stuff.
Absolutely. Like,
wow.
I was living there, having a house, paying a mortgage, paying rent, like all of these things, paying land rates, all this stuff. Like, that people like, oh, when I have a house, this will make me happy. When I have that car, this will make me happy. When I have that relationship, this will make me happy. When I settle down with someone, this will make me happy. None of that shit ever made me happy at all, ever.
Damn.
So I think like I was already in that sort of little bubble of like, I guess you could say I had it all.
Yeah.
But it still never made me happy.
Damn. So, and I hope this isn't getting too personal on the question as well, but did you mean like you had gone through the steps that most people aim to go down, like buy a house, start paying the mortgage, things like that, and even in the process you were like, this ain't it?
Yeah, all of that, yeah.
Because I feel that like, now, you know, I've saved up to get a mortgage myself, and now I'm paying it off, and I can't wait to fuck it off. Like, it's like, I don't want the commitment to it.
No, that's exactly right. Like, I think it's all just like indoctrination, like all of the, you know, the ideology of having all of this and like going to university and having the degree and doing all these things that, you know, on paper look good, but realistically none of that makes you happy. Well, definitely didn't make me happy.
That's cool. That's cool to realize it. So how old were you when you went on this journey, like, and sold everything?
I don't even know how. All of, like, again, time in my head is just like
irrelevant, eh?
So irrelevant. But like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think I started my healing journey like, I mentioned to you on the phone when I very first tried psilocybin mushrooms is when I sort of went on my healing journey. Because prior to that, like, I was very much a party girl. I was very much in that scene and in that life. And when I tried mushrooms, that was like the pinnacle of my, like, the turning point. And that was probably at the age of like, I don't know, 20, 19, 20.
Okay. Yeah, nice. That's a good age, I reckon, to be trying mushrooms. You know, any younger than that's a bit crazy, but 19, 20 is a good age to do it. How was it completely mine? Because I've experienced mushroom. I think I was probably about 19 as well, the first time I took it. Like, was it completely life-changing, or was it just like, did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? How was the first time you took it?
It was completely life-changing. Yeah. Like, before that, like, as I said, I was a bit of a party girl. I'd tried anything. Whatever I could get my hands on, I would try. Yeah. And I always had fun doing it. But mushrooms for me was just like, it wasn't, I mean, it was fun, but it was like this, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was literally like an introspection and then an interconnectedness with all living things. And I realized, like, everything is not what it appears to be. And it was like the happiest I'd ever been was on mushrooms. Yeah. I remember crying. I'd never cried with happiness ever. I cried with happiness for the first time when I was on mushrooms.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. It's crazy. Some of the times, I had a weird relationship with it as well. Did you take it a few times, or just the one time? You took it a few times? Yeah, okay.
I had this friend who was kind of like my shaman. He introduced me to it. His housemate grew it. And he introduced me to it, and he would take me on like little ventures. So we'd go out and, like, you know, maybe drop like 1-2 grams, then it went to like 3 grams and 4 grams. I think the most I ever had in one day was like 11 grams of mushrooms. A lot. But yeah, I think like each time it was kind of like, you know, just getting in touch with nature, getting in touch with myself, and coming to a lot of like realizations that I had never really come to before. And then that's sort of where it all sort of like kick-started off on my healing journey.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. I remember enjoying it when I first started experimenting with it. Like, friends and I, we'd like catch the bus. We used to get, probably shouldn't say too much of it. Okay, well, the dark web used to be a pretty good place for it because you could order pretty much anything you wanted, and it would come in like a powdered form of psilocybin. Yeah. So we just have like a capsule or a tea of it, catch the bus to the city. And the first few times I really started to enjoy it, you know, like, wow, this is cool, this is interesting. Then it started making me think, but then it started making me think too much, you know? Yeah. So towards the end of me and my last time taking mushrooms, I started to really hate the experience. Did you ever get to a point in which you weren't enjoying the experience?
There was only one time, and I think because, as I mentioned, I had this friend who was kind of like a shaman doing mushrooms with me. The only time that I regret it and the only time that I had a bad experience on it was when I went to a festival on mushrooms. Yeah. And people were coming up to me going, hey, Abby, like, trying to have a conversation with me, and I dead set did not know who the fuck they were because their face was like all morphed and shit. And I was like, wow, this is cooking my brain. Like, I probably shouldn't do this. Like, this is the wrong setting. But I think with mushrooms in particular, it's like, you need to have the right setting. You need to have the right people around you. And you also need to have the right, like, intention and mindset as to why you're doing it. Like, if you're just trying to get fucked up, you're not going to get out of it what, say, I got out of it, because I was trying to heal. I was trying to change my perception, I guess you could say. Yeah. But, yeah, going to that festival on mushrooms, not a good idea.
Yeah. That's a good thing to say, intention towards why you're doing it too. Because I got a friend now who's kind of trying to persuade me to do it, even though I made it clear and he's not asking me. I'm not going to be doing it with him because he's intentionally trying to figure more stuff out. That's what he's going for. Yeah. I remember just doing it because it's like, what else am I going to do? You know? Yeah. Like, I may as well do this. Yeah. So I guess that probably was why I started to not enjoy it towards the end, because I'm just fucking doing it for no reason. Yeah. You know? So I'm not going to say I don't think anyone should ever do it. I'm not going to say people should do it, but I guess if you're doing it for your own right reasons, then I guess it's a good thing to do, you know?
I think that's like anything. Intention is everything.
Yeah, I like that. And then how long after you started experimenting with this for the first time was it that you were like, fuck it, I don't want any of my shit anymore. I'm just going to hit the road and see where it takes me?
Well, I guess like there's, it's kind of a bit of a backstory really, but like I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that question, but I guess like for me, at the age of like 13, I was very chronically sick. So I spent a lot of my like youth bedridden, in and out of hospital, in and out of surgeries, immobile, being tube fed, couldn't eat. I remember I couldn't eat for like 2 weeks straight. Just the small things in life really, like not being able to have your mobility and being tube fed and not being able to eat, not being able to go anywhere, not being able to do anything. It really put things into perspective for me at a very young age. And then, you know, being able to do the things that I was able to do after like coming out of all like my sicknesses and stuff like that, but I would constantly go in and out of it. And that's kind of where like I picked up a bit of a drug habit. So then when I picked up a bit of a drug habit with all like the prescription medications that the doctors were giving me, I was kind of doing these highs and lows, highs and lows, highs and lows. And it got to the point where like all the lows were just like too much. Like I was so depressed at like 16. I just couldn't get out of bed, couldn't do anything. And I felt like nobody really understood me or understood what I was going through and the things that were happening at home. And then, as I said, when I got to about the age of 19, it was just like, yeah, I wanted to better myself. I wanted to experience more to life. I didn't want to be in these low dips anymore.
And do you mind me asking as well, these things that you were suffering with, the sicknesses that were making you bedridden, were they something that doctors were saying, this is going to make you better by taking these drugs, and if you give it time, you're going to get better, but then it would unexpectedly show back up? Or was it like...
I'll give you a bit of backstory. So when I was born with autoimmune disease, I guess you could say. It's called hereditary spherocytosis. So my red blood cells are misshaped and my white blood cells would eat my red blood cells. So my body was constantly attacking itself from the moment I was born. And then I remember going out of school, always having to like go and see like doctors and stuff like that, getting blood tests. My brother's actually born with the same disease. And then because my body was constantly fighting each other, I ended up with a severely enlarged spleen. So then with that came gallstones, and then I had blockages in my bile duct, and that's why I was like hospitalized, because nobody knew what was happening. I actually became a case study at the John Hunter Hospital.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's it's already crazy stuff to go through as a kid compared to most kids, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then like there was other stuff in the background as well that was happening. Like my mum had breast cancer twice, and you know, my sister had a lot of, you know, mental health troubles, and then that was bringing a world of chaos into my life as well at the time. So as a young girl and then as a teenager, there was just constantly all these highs and lows. And then by the time, I reached maybe like, I would say, 19, 20, I had that calling, that inner calling to like, you know, there's more out there. Like you need to get your shit together, but still, again, kept going through those highs and lows, highs and lows, highs and lows.
Yeah. I wonder if... do you think the experience that you were going through as a kid made you more appreciative of the simpler things, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's why, like, it was so easy for me to detach. Like, I also suffered a lot from dissociation, so nothing ever really meant anything to me, which is kind of sad, really. But it is the truth. I never really, like, fully attached to anybody or anything or any place. That's why it was so easy for me to up and leave.
Yeah.
And, you know, even friends and stuff like that, I never really felt connected to people because I just never felt understood.
And was it because like a lot of the times life was kind of changing for you anyway, without your control anyway? Like,
yeah.
Because I didn't know what it's, and I can only try and assume to know what it's like on a small level, because like I've broken so many bones in my body, right? So the times you do spend in hospital, you don't appreciate being able to do things until it's all completely ripped away from you. But it's only happened once or twice or three times or anything, something serious enough to actually spend time bedridden, you know?
Yeah.
So if it's a constant reoccurrence in your life, then I can imagine like you're kind of getting used to the good and getting used to the bad, and then what's good if there's no bad, and what's bad if it's all good. Like, So I can try and understand that kind of flatline level of no attachment to much stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like, fuck, is life good? Is life bad? Who know? Like, you know.
They say, what's that saying? It's like, you know, when you're healthy, like you've got all the like other problems in the world that you're like, you know, oh, this or that. But then when you're sick, there's only one problem, and that's getting better.
Yeah, yeah. And there's only one person that I want around, and that's my mum. You know what I mean? Like, fuck all these friends. Fuck anyone else. They're not going to get me better, you know? Yeah, I completely understand what that's like. Because recently I actually hurt my knee recently at work, and it's like I'd never appreciated having two legs more in my life.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
When you're unwell, it's like, yeah, it's crazy. You really do appreciate health when you're unwell. And because when I had my spleen out, like, you know, that if I get sick, I get sick, you know what I mean? Because I don't have my spleen, which is like your immune system and your immune response and stuff like that. And then even like, you know, because I have my gallbladder out, like even foods that I eat, like I have all these gastrointestinal issues now that have just like circulated throughout my entire life. And then I got told at one point, like I was going to have surgery yearly for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Like, so like, you know, news like that really puts things into perspective as well. Like,
I wonder if they really do make you like take advantage of the times when you're not going, you know what I mean? Like if you know, right, in a year from now I'm probably going to spend time recovering, getting better, all that. Do you reckon even consciously, not just subconsciously, that makes you want to enjoy the time more?
That I have here, absolutely. Because I know that death is inevitable.
Yeah.
Inevitable, I should say, sorry. Like, change is the only constant and death is the only thing that is guaranteed. And I'm so okay with both.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually mad. So then I'm trying to understand the decision, how it was for you to make that decision to be able to just pack up everything and leave. But still, I think it's something that most people want to do, but 99.9% of people will never experience in their life. As I said, most people are lucky to go on a holiday for a week, 2 weeks, Bali, you know what I mean? How good is this? I'm like that every time Bali pops up. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm living. But it's like, I want to see the fucking Egypt, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been to Egypt.
I've seen, trust me, I went through the profile. I said, who's coming over? Yeah, and I said, Egypt. I said, for fuck's sake, you know? That's crazy.
Well, even Europe, like I traveled like 30 countries in Europe as well. Like that was at the age of 21, I think.
Damn.
And yeah, went all across Europe and made some amazing friends that I'm still friends with today.
That's cool.
And that was really life changing also. But it was very quick, and I didn't spend long over there, and I did everything very like fast paced. And as I said, 30 countries in Europe, like very fast paced. I was like, I didn't really get the experience of like living in the place and like understanding the culture and the people and how things work. Whereas this time that I traveled in South America, like I really wanted to indulge in who they are and what they're about and like really get familiar with their culture.
Yeah.
And
it's a big difference between just seeing another culture and cultivating.
Yeah, like just going and, you know, witnessing everything as opposed to like really living their lifestyle is two completely different things. And I think for me, like this South America trip was like really living their lifestyle, you know?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you just said you did Europe first. Was it part of the same year that you pretty much spent away, or was this a whole different time?
Whole different trip. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Trip.
So you've gone on at least two
massive trips. Yeah. So and then with family holidays as well. My parents love to travel, and they took us to, you know, Thailand, Bali, like cruising off the coast of Australia on like cruise boat, like what do you call them, P&O cruises and stuff like that. Visiting all the little islands off the coast of Australia. I think that kind of really led me to like, fuck yeah, I really want to travel.
Had a calling for it.
Yeah, I really want to see things.
Kind of had an upbringing for it too, as well as a calling for it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. So I'm assuming the South America trip was a completely life-changing experience, cultivating yourself within that. But what about the Europe trip? Did that what about Egypt? You said you went to Egypt. Was that part of that trip or part of the other
separate trip again. Yeah,
Oh.
separate trip again. I've been to some countries.
That's hectic.
I haven't actually tallied it up. I need to write them all down, but I think it's over 40 now.
Yeah,
countries that I've been to. Yeah.
That's cool.
But the Egypt, my fascination with Egypt and the ancient civilization there was just off its head. And I was literally ready to go alone. And then my best friend at the time was like, you're not fucking going alone. Like, and then he was like, I'm coming with you. And then my mum was like, well, if you're going to Egypt, I want to come to Egypt. And then it ended up being my mum, my uncle, my auntie, my best friend. Like we all went over there and turned into a massive like family holiday almost. But it all stemmed from my obsession with Egypt. I'm just so obsessed.
I've got a mad obsession. But the pyramid's crazy to see because like
unexplainable.
I've spent
phenomenized.
hours and hours and hours researching. To be honest, one of the number one guests I want to have is an Egyptologist. That's something I'm trying to organize.
But you know what? I did a few tours while I was over there, and like even the Egyptologists, like I don't even think they know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, honestly, it's unfathomable. Like they're just reading what textbook they got taught. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they don't.
What's in the pamphlet?
Yeah,
like, it's like their second week on the job, and they're like 3,500 years ago. That's pretty old. You know, that's cool.
But yeah, I still remember to this day. Like I forget his name. Fuck that. I'm so bad with names. But anyway, he was saying things. I'm just thinking, bro, you don't even know. Like I've got all my other like ideologies of what he's saying, and he's going through how they were built, and like I'm just like nah, don't believe ya. Yeah. Still to this day, don't believe him. Yeah.
I had this. I want to throw this in there as well because I want to get back to it as well. But it just reminded me. I have a friend named Cody. I met him doing the podcast. Someone suggested him. Shout out to Sawn if Sawn's listening. He suggested another guy I met on the podcast. Shout out to Jono for hooking that whole thing up. But Cody said he was a lawyer. That's what he was. I saw his content online, making a couple of vlogs, things like this. And he just passed the bar of a lawyer, and he also got a double degree in business finance or something along that, right? Accounting or something. And he's like, I'm breaking the news to you right now. I've just graduated on Friday, and I quit my job as a lawyer. I'm going to travel the world for as long as I can now. And now he's over in, I see his YouTube videos every week. He's fucking in this country, that country, exploring this, exploring that. And he said the same thing. He's like, I just don't find appreciation, to be honest, for all these simple things. He sold his car, sold his this, sold his that. And I watch his YouTube videos and I'm thinking, fuck, bro, why didn't I come with you?
That is the ultimate goal. Like if I could just travel and just be free and have the world as my home, I would be a happy woman.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate goal.
It's crazy as well, because even in that situation as well, he studied for 6 years or something. And as soon as he graduated, he said, I'll never work another day as a lawyer in my life. Like,
isn't that crazy?
I'm done with it.
What a waste of 6 years and a waste of a lot of money too. I can't even imagine his head.
Imagine he's over there working at a bar, paying off his fucking lawyer fees here.
Not so even doing anything with it. I started uni. I started psychology at university at Newcastle. And I got a year in, and I love the psyche, like the human psyche and all that sort of stuff. I love like analysing people and their actions and why people are the way they are and all that sort of stuff. But I thought to myself, why would I spend the next 4 to 6 years here reading a textbook on people when I can go out there and experience it for myself? So I quit and I moved up to the Gold Coast. And it was like, yeah, fuck uni, fuck all that shit, fuck the system. Like, I was like, I'm not doing it. Like my mindset was just like, for me personally, I need to learn through experiences, and that's exactly what I've done with my life. Yeah, I've just picked up and traveled and met people and done things and just tried new things constantly. In order to get to where my head's at today and to have the perspective that I do today is all through just
to make it to the Doxcast. You made it.
Made it here.
Good work. That's cool. I had someone recently come on, shout out TGF. He told me he does psychology at university as well as the content that I know him from. And I said to him, I was like, bro, I want to do a degree in psychology, so it's good to be talking to you. And he's like, bro, it's a waste of time. Yeah. Because I learned everything talking to people.
100%.
Like this and that.
Absolutely. Like, it's you can read a textbook and whatnot, but like at the end of the day, like it doesn't teach you what you need to know about people. Like when you speak to people and you meet people of all different walks of life, like that's where your knowledge comes from. You know what I mean? Experience brings wisdom, and I was well aware of that sitting in the lecture room, thinking, who am I to finish in 6 years' time and then, go and try and tell somebody how to live their life when I haven't even lived my life, you know what I mean? So that's
good perspective, actually.
Drew me out of like the system. Was like, I'm just going to go and experience it for myself.
Okay, cool. So this South America trip, whereabouts did you first, where did it, I don't know geology of South America. I don't know anything about it. So like where the idea start, and then where did it take you?
Okay, so it was probably around about the time where I was experimenting with mushrooms. And I had an inner calling. This sounds really woo-woo, but...
Please tell me some woo-woo shit, bro.
So I remember I was living downstairs in my parents' basement, and I was basically like... I don't even know. I was with my friend, and anyway, the term ayahuasca came up. And for some reason, it was like I had this intrinsic calling to go and experience her. And she was calling me. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than like... She was like, you need to come and see me.
Yeah.
Like, and it took me 6 years because I didn't even know what ayahuasca was. Like,
for everyone who's listening, let me just say this as well. For everyone who doesn't understand what ayahuasca is Would you say it's just the drug, or it's the ceremonial process to take the drug? Would you say it's the root itself is ayahuasca, or is it the whole experience?
Well, I think, okay, so the ayahuasca experience is one of healing, introspection, awareness, and like growth and expansion, evolution into yourself and I guess into the world around you.
Yeah.
But it's the whole thing. Like, I mean, the term ayahuasca is just a vine in the Amazon.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a root, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a vine.
Yeah, okay. Vine.
And then they mix it with some form of DMT, like angel trumpet or whatever plant, has DMT, and they mix it, they brew it all together, and then it becomes a psychoactive brew when you drink it. So the whole ceremony, like the ayahuasca ceremony, it is one for healing and introspection, basically.
And it's something that to be honest, we only hear stories about, what I mean? We don't have real access to it in these countries.
No.
Usually they have a shaman, is that what they call it? A shaman who guides people through their journey and things like this. And it's in the rainforest, basically, which is the crazy part about it. So you heard about it then, and you kind of knew, like, I need to experience that.
I knew that I needed to meet her. I knew I needed to experience it. I say her.
And you say her. Did you always say her back then?
No, I didn't. I didn't say her back then, but I now know it is a feminine energy because I've encountered her 5 times.
Cool. Wow.
But yeah, so it all started back then. And then once I started looking into it, I was like, what's ayahuasca? Why do I feel like I need to try this? I looked into it and I was like, holy fuck, there is no way I'm mentally prepared for that. Because like, if you read like the prerequisites of like what you need before trying ayahuasca, like you've got to have like good physical health, you got to be mentally stable, like you need to be like spiritually ready, like all these sort of checklists before you actually go into it. And I was none of those things. So I was definitely not ready for it. And as I said, it took me 6 years for me to be like, nah, I'm doing it. So 6 years later, I'm living in Sydney, and I was going through. It was after I smoked DMT. I was actually just talking about this.
No, let's go on to that first. We can't just skip over that. No way. We can't skip over that.
My brain's like,
all right. There's 2 substances I haven't tried in my life. That's DMT and ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard a lot about it, but can you explain me your experience of dimethyltryptamine was like? What was your experience of that?
Well, I did. So I've never put a pipe in my mouth, and so I didn't want to smoke it, but I ended up smoking it through a vape. So it was a very weird experience. But I sort of like I didn't get that whole blast through to the other side and then like come back to reality, because I think that needs to be done through a pipe. But I did it through a vape. And basically my experience with it was like kind of like I went on a trip. Like I went on a trip and I was seeing like all different like kaleidoscopes and like her face and things like that. But it was actually after the fact that it gave me a lot of self-introspection and a self-awareness. And I realized like a lot of dark, like it was kind of like shadow work for me. Like I understood more about myself then and all the negative aspects and negative traits that I had. That was kind of my experience with DMT.
Okay.
It was very interesting.
What I'm interested about is some people relate to me and some people don't when I mention this, but when you take any substance, let's just use mushrooms as an example, but that's a really easy example, but I'm assuming you said you've tried many things like MDMA or anything like that. You tried anything like that?
Pretty much tried everything.
Do you notice the reflection inside yourself when you try most substances, or is this like, is it only some things that make you think, that was a bit of a shadow journey, you know what I mean?
More the psychedelics.
Yeah.
I think all the other substances were kind of just like a let's go kind of thing.
Something to witness, not something to be part of.
Yeah, whereas like the psychedelics were one of introspection for me always. I don't know why, but my mentality and my genetic makeup really like psilocybin was one of the pinnacle turnings of my
journey, I guess.
And my self-awareness, same as DMT. DMT really like made me have like introspection on myself and then now ayahuasca topped all of that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, some people I speak to, they take mushrooms, even acid, all these things, and they're just like, man, I saw some cool shit. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking like, but what did you think? Like, what did you feel?
I cannot do acid.
Acid's a big, It's everyone, that's for sure. Yeah, the last time I took that was the last time I ever take that, to be honest.
Yeah, same. I do not enjoy acid at all.
I did enjoy. I used to tell people before that it's something to try. I actually used to poorly recommend people to try it until the last time I tried it, and I said like, if anyone ever has to try acid, I hope you don't, you know. But yeah, some people, like, I actually have a few friends who've tried DMT, and a few of them found that inner understanding of, like, some friends came away and said they believe in God for the first time ever since trying DMT, or some witness spirits for the first time, but some of them just like treat it like it's a party drug, and they're just like, yeah, dude, you see some pretty cool shit, like I was hallucinating a bit, you know. And I'm like, damn, people have different ways of looking at the world, you know, like the same substance can make people look in and some people just look out, you know?
I think for me it's always been looking in and like realizing the only like looking out part was just like realizing that I am connected to all living things.
That's cool. Yeah. That's a nice approach, especially as well. It's a great understanding as well, because you really do treat others the way you want to be treated, because you are treating yourself kindly by being kind to others, you know. I always say to myself, why does it feel so good to give people gifts? You know, it doesn't make sense. We're a survivalistic species. We're meant to just take what we can to survive. But when you give people presents at Christmas, or you donate money to this, or you tip extra when you do that, why the hell would that feel good? I'm meant to be trying to make myself survive. But I think it's to do with what you're saying, because we are really all connected, that you are doing something for yourself by doing something for someone else. You know?
100%.
And I guess then it's like, oh, so we all need to survive, not just me, you know, we're in this together.
Definitely.
Idiot. Yeah.
Like I am you, you are me, we are all one type of thing. Like even with the trees, like I remember when I was doing mushrooms one time, I was sitting there and I was looking at the trees and I could see, like physically see the energy from the ground going up the stem of like the tree into the branches and then just circulating back down to the earth.
Crazy.
And then it's kind of like us as well, like all the energy coming up from like our feet, circulating all around our biofield, and we're all just connected. Like there's this big, they call it like a magnetic field around you, around me, and like around the universe. It's so crazy, but like when I was on mushrooms, I could see it. Like I could visually see it.
Oh, that's so
It's crazy.
sick.
And that was my DMT experience as well. Like I could see the interconnectedness of all things, but most of those psychedelic trips just really gave me a massive introspection into myself and the interconnectedness of like all living things.
That's sick. I remember one time, I can't remember what substance it might have been, but I remember like having my feet planted on the ground outside, and I remember literally feeling the earth like breathe, like heartbeat. I felt it being alive. It was like I was standing on like a human, you know what I mean? Like you can tell when you're touching something alive, a dog, a person, something like that. But I remember standing on the ground, the earth and the grass, and just thinking to myself like, fuck, how have I never felt this before? Like, this is insane. So I'm not saying I hope to see it one day, but I do love that you paint the picture of being able to see the energetical presence of everything that's alive.
Yes.
You know, because I got to be honest, I don't look at a tree, and to be honest, I don't even think to myself it's alive. You know what I mean? It's a sign.
Yeah.
For me, it's a freaking, it's a piece of tarmac, you know what I mean? Like,
see, I look at a tree and I'm like, that tree's probably been there for like 100 or maybe even longer. Like if you go to Katoomba, there's like a tree there that's like thousands of years old. And I think, wow, that tree has like seen so much and has felt so much and probably stores so much information just within its like, you know, consciousness, because trees are conscious. Everything that grows is, anything that alive has consciousness in it. And I look at it from that perspective and it just spins my mind. I'm like, it's so cool.
Yeah, that is crazy. To look at a tree and think, wow, he's
lived.
He's lived.
Yeah.
That's cool. You know what the cool thing is too? It's like, and I don't mean to do this, but I can't naturally help it in my brain to try and use a scientific explanation to explain a lot of the, you call it woo-woo things.
Yeah.
Even though I do believe in the woo-woo things myself, I like to try and like articulate it to myself that makes sense. But they say in nature that like, they can't even explain how, but like certain species of flora, fauna, whatever it may be, when they're not getting enough nutrients, other species start absorbing less of it, so those ones can absorb more. They'll start reproducing more of a certain thing, so other things get more shade to help them stay alive, so they can give them more stuff. And nature literally does work in synchronicity with itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It absolutely does, and it depends. It's like that yin and yang theory, right? Like everything's interconnected, and one can't survive without the other. Like they say, well, if the bees didn't exist, we'd die, right?
Yeah.
And it's like something like so minute like that. Like if bees didn't exist, we would die. Like
that's crazy.
That's sinking. That's crazy. But like,
I know this is off topic, but I have to say this as well, because recently I noticed it. I was doing work on top of the buildings in the city in Sydney, and they actually have beehives. I was looking at these things over there and thinking, what the fuck is that? I went over to them, lifted them up. They've made these little like dog kennel looking things, and you open them and they're beehives. So they actually have beehives on top of all the buildings in the city, because as you said, if you don't have the bees going around taking all the pollen off the flowers and all this shit, then it's like we lack to survive. So we actually build our own ones in the cities. How crazy is that?
On top of the skyscrapers.
On top of all buildings, yeah.
That's wild.
That is cool.
What were you doing up there?
I'm an aircon mechanic and refrigeration mechanic. So I think I was doing the David Jones in the city, the aircon for that or something like that that day. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, I'll circle back.
Yep.
But
sorry, getting off topic.
When you went over to South America,
how
long into your trip was this ayahuasca journey?
Okay, so let's start off.
And did you know you were going to do it when you went?
Yeah, okay, so this is the thing, right? So back to my calling. So I went over there. I went to South America with the intention to meet ayahuasca. I didn't know how. I didn't know where. I didn't know when. I literally had no idea. But they do say that you don't chase ayahuasca. Ayahuasca will always find you.
Yeah.
So I just always had that in my head. Like, so I just went day to day doing whatever I wanted to do, not searching for it at all. So I started off in Peru and I worked my way down Peru. Obviously met some people along the way, traveled, whatever. And then when I was in Peru, I went to a magnetic plane for an energy healing ceremony. And I was sitting in a cafe in Peru, and this man came up to me and was like, I really like your hiking boots. And I was like, thanks. He's like, where'd you get them from? I was like, Australia. And he's like, oh damn, yeah, probably somewhere like that. And he's like, oh damn, like I really like I'm searching for some hiking boots or and then we ended up getting talking. And anyway, he's like, can I sit? And I was like, yes, take a seat. So anyway, I'm waiting for this guy to pick me up to take me to this magnetic field to have an energy cleansing ceremony. And this guy stumbles across and said, hey, like, do you want to come with me? And he's like, yeah, sure. So anyway, he ended up coming with me and we went to this place and we had exchanged numbers and whatever. And he sort of had like a similar journey. He wanted to also experience ayahuasca and he had come over there for healing and self-discovery, which was the reason why I went over there as well. And then anyway, we parted ways after that night and I didn't see him for ages, but we had each other's number. Anyway, so I'm still traveling down, making my way through Peru. I get to Cusco and I'm climbing Machu Picchu and I'm seeing all the amazing ancient sites there and just like in absolute disbelief. And then I remember sitting in a hostel in Cusco and he rings me. He's like, Abby, I don't know why, but I think you need to come here. And I was like, where are you? He's like, I'm in Iquitos in Peru, in the Amazon jungle. He's like, you need to come here. He's like, he was in the main city at the time when he was ringing me.
And you're giving me chills, I swear to God.
And I said,
just stood up.
I was like, that's wild. I said, okay. And this to me at that time, it really felt like she had come to me, you know what I mean? Because I was walking through the main streets of Peru and there's ayahuasca here, ayahuasca there, come like, it's advertised where I was, but I didn't want to go through any of that because I as I said, I didn't want to search for it. So anyway, after I received this phone call, I asked him, I said, like, do you mind if I can speak to the shaman? Because I just felt like I needed to, get his vibe sort of first. And so he put me on the phone to the shaman and I spoke to the shaman his name was David. And after speaking with David, I don't even know how long we spoke for, but I was like, this is it. I was like, that's where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
So I packed up my shit, left the hostel and made my way into the Amazon. So it was crazy, like the journey.
How do you even get to the Amazon? Like,
yeah,
what the
it was
fuck?
super hard, mind you, like super fucking hard.
And you're on your one by yourself. Doing
yeah,
this.
Yeah. I was by myself, so honestly, I don't even know how I got there. All of it is a massive blur, but I do remember getting stuck at the airport because I couldn't buy a ticket because my card was blocked and I was sitting there trying to ask people to pay for it for me and I'll give them cash and this and that. And it was a dead set struggle. Like it was so hard to get to where I wanted to get to. And then I ended up paying this guy at a local little like convenience store to pay for my ticket. And then I gave him cash. Anyway.
Did you just put it into your Jeep, into Google Maps, like Amazon rainforest?
Well,
follow
pretty much. I was just like, I knew that I needed to get to Iquitos, so then I had to go through all the borders and stuff like that as well, and I'll get my passport stamped and whatnot. It was pretty crazy.
Sorry, is Iquitos a different country than Peru?
So it was in Peru, but like where I was at the time, it's like on the border of three. It's on the border of Colombia, Brazil, and Peru.
Yeah.
So I pretty much stepped foot in all three countries
so you
at once.
bypassed the way.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Nice.
But by the time
you're going tick, Colombia tick. Yeah.
By the time that I got there, I just remember flying over. So I got a flight. And I had to fly down, and I just remember looking out the window, and I was like, holy fuck. Like, looking at this map, right? Imagine that, just jungle.
Oh,
so, like, you know when you fly into, like, say, Melbourne, or you fly into somewhere and you look down and saw cities, you can see the roads and you can see the lights. I flew in, I looked down, and it was just nothing but thick greenery. Like, you couldn't see any buildings, you couldn't see any roads, you couldn't see any people, you couldn't see any lights. Like, I looked down, and it was the most mesmerizing thing I've ever seen. I was like, wow, this is hectic.
Yeah.
And then anyway, finally landed, and then my bags never showed up. And I was like, fuck. So anyway, I ended up getting this tuk-tuk that David had arranged for me to get from the airport into his retreat. So I was there for a few days with absolutely nothing. Like, nothing. My bags were stuck on the airplane in Cusco. I was like, no idea where they were. So anyway, once I was there, David was like, yeah, so we're going to start first ceremony tomorrow night. And I was like, holy fuck. Like, am I ready for this? Yeah. He just threw me straight into the deep end. But yeah, he set me up. So he, like, you know, introduced himself and sort of, like, you know, said, like, set the intentions and the expectations of the retreat and things like that. And showed me to my little maloka, my little hut that I had to myself, which was literally just like wooden planks with like a bit of green fly screens on there, and, like, you know, no lights, just a candle for what I would like to see, and little mattress
in the jungle.
And then had one of those like mosquito fly nets over the top of me so I wouldn't get eaten alive and whatever. I was so crazy.
And do people live around where you're staying, or is it just like a kind of like a community center? Like, what is it kind of like?
So the closest city is the like Iquitos, but where he was outside of the city, so it was just jungle.
And like, where does he live? Or just there?
Yeah, so he lives just outside of the main city, I guess you could say, in his own, like, he has his own retreat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, you look around, you can't see anything.
Wow, and I'm assuming because this guy that you met over there, was he there too?
Yeah, so most retreats that you would go to, there could be up to like 30 people, and they, you know, charge a mozza, and it's all kind of like a money making, like, sort of scandal, like, not scandal, but, you know, it's expensive. A business. It's more of a business. Whereas this shaman that I was with, it wasn't a business. It was like, you know, come and stay at my house and let me show you ayahuasca. Like, let me guide you through this journey that you're here for. You know what I mean? So it just had this really cool vibe, really cool energy, and he lived there with his wife and his kids and stuff, and I just felt right at home as soon as I was there. And they had, like, you know, a massive maloka, which was like a healing, like, that was where the ceremonies were held. And then they had like another sort of like wooden kitchen where you would kind of eat, and then they had their own little house on the other side of the whole like retreat. And then there was like individual like little huts where, you know, the people could stay. But it was literally just me and Joe. Shout out to Joe if you're listening to this. But yeah, it was just me and Joe that we were the only participants there. Wow. So there was a shaman, and the shaman did have an offsider who was there that would help, you know, guide and do all like the preparation before the ceremonies and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just me and Joe at the beginning, and then at the very end there was two other people that ended up coming along.
How crazy is that? Yeah. Like, they've been called as well, you know what I mean? Like, ayahuasca spoke to them as well, and like, when you're leaving, they're coming in. Like,
pretty much. And I had this crossover with this, you know, with this lady, well, Debbie, shout out to Debbie. She was incredible. She was such a nurturing, kind soul. I'm still friends with her today.
Nice.
She's helped me through a lot. But yeah, so it was very, very placid, and it wasn't like most of the retreats out there that are there for business. It was just, very humble.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So you're saying on the first night you had the intention set to what you're going to expect. What does that kind of look like? What are they telling you you're going? I don't even know if they're telling you what you're going to expect, but what are they kind of breaking it down to you when you first get there?
I guess like he was very open-minded. So like I mean, if you go to other retreats, some of the retreats are very strict on, you know, have you consumed drugs? Have you had sex in the last, you know, few weeks? Have you had any red meat, any sugars, any caffeine? Like, there's all these different steps to the preparation. But he was quite lenient with everything, although I was kind of already like prepped because I was a vegetarian. I hadn't had sex with anyone, and like, you know what I mean? So all of that was kind of like, that came natural. But at the beginning, it was just more so like, you know, go into it with an open mind, don't have any expectations, don't have any attachments, just, you know, go in it and see what she has to show you. But before every single ceremony, we would set different intentions, like self-intentions. So like, you know, things that you may want to get out of it. So, I set different intentions for the 5 ceremonies that I held, and each intention in each ceremony was very, very different.
That's cool. Did you have to do, I've heard it online, what they call a purge, where you have to like release anything that's first in you?
Yeah, so that's kind of like that prep, which I said, like, red meats, caffeine, sugars, sex, all that sort of things. Like, you can't have any of those leading up to it, but I hadn't anyway. And then they do like a smoking ceremony on you, like it's called mapacho, which is like a natural tobacco in the Amazon. So they physically blow it on you, but it spiritually gets rid of any like negative energy in your biofield, which is like your electromagnetic field that surrounds you. And then also you had to fast as well. So you had to fast, I think, from memory, it was probably like 1 p.m. You couldn't eat anything. You don't have any sort of electronic devices or anything like that. Not that we got reception out there anyway, but it was kind of just, you know, staying off or like all of that before going into the ceremony. Okay,
that's cool. So do you mind, and is it too personal to ask what your intentions were on the first night? Like what did you set yourself out? Is it all right if I ask that?
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to go through every single ceremony with you, because I think like I had so much great insight in every single one, and every single trip was so different.
Oh, really? They were different from the last. Well, okay. Yeah. So run me through the first one then. What were you thinking? What were you hoping to get out of it or anything like that? And then what was it actually like?
Yeah. So basically, this is the story of my first ceremony. So we started off with the smoking ceremony. So blew smoke on all of us and everything like that. And I was just like, I was very just open to whatever she needed me to see or feel or hear, or I was just completely open-minded. I had absolutely no intentions. I just went in with like, whatever she wants to show me, she can show me. And
not much fear. As you were saying before, you didn't have much fear in your whole life. Yeah. Was there any at all? Nerves? Anything like that?
I probably did have a little bit of nerves just because I'd never done it before. But that sort of like excited me. Yeah. The unknown excites me. Yeah. So I wasn't fearful. I was more just excited to see what this journey was, where it was going to take me, kind of thing. So I remember I walked into the ceremonial maloka, and in the middle of the room there was like a massive drum. There was all these different musical instruments, and then we had like a flat little mattress with like a few pillows, a spew bowl, and a ashtray which was full of mapacho. David had his shrine table at the beginning, at the back of the maloka, where he would sit, and he had all of his little like, you know, symbolic things like crystals or whatever offerings that he had to the spirits and all that sort of stuff. And then he went in with kind of like smoking out the room, getting rid of any like energies, any bad things, making sure that everything was intact before we started the ceremony. And then it was complete silence as you walked into this room as well. So you can't talk when you get in there. And then David would sort of start off with, as I said, like blessing the room, blessing the ayahuasca brew itself. And then he would call us up individually to the table. So first time he gave us the opportunity to ask like, how much do you want to take? And I was like, I don't know, man, like you tell me, you're the shaman, you know what I mean? And I trusted him to give me whatever. And each time that you take it, it's more potent every single time. So he goes, okay, we'll just start with half a cup. So I started with half a cup for my first ceremony. And I remember I stood up, he called me up, I stood up, went up to the shrine, and he blessed it. And then he gave me the cup to drink out of. I set my intentions with, as I said, show me what needs to be, whatever you want me to know, show me. I'm completely open to this first experience. And then I drank it and fuck, it tastes like shit.
I was about to ask that.
It tastes like absolute shit. Like it is like thick mud.
Yeah.
But with like this alcoholic taste, and it was potent.
Sounds like ashwagandha. I've been taking ashwagandha lately.
I've taken heaps. Worse. Like straight up, hands down, the worst thing I've ever taken. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Did not enjoy it.
Sorry to cut you off. You can have that if you want. There's a
you can have that if you want.
Yeah, sorry. I saw you out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, I hope he cracks it and then put it back like nice and quietly.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Okay, so it was like a thick, muddy, pasty mess. And do you drink it really quickly, or do you kind of scull it, like let it slow? What do you do?
Like a shot.
Yeah. Did you ask how much did you want? You said just one shot.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So the cup was like that. You know those like little trophies? Like, yeah, it was like that.
Yeah.
So I had half a cup of that, and then just shotted it. Went and sat down. I remember I just sort of sat in like a meditative position with my legs crossed, like back straight, because I'd done a lot of yoga and meditation in my preparation before. As I said, it took me 6 years to prepare for all of this stuff. I went on a massive healing journey kind of before then as well. So I did like my yoga course and like did a lot of meditation and mindfulness and breath work. So I just kind of sat there and put that into practice.
Oh, you were prepped.
I was mentally prepped. It took me 6 years to mentally prep for this.
Wow.
Yeah. So
7 P's of life, just for anyone who wants to know this as well, including yourself, but it's proper prior preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yeah.
That's what I tell myself every time I'm doing any task.
I like that.
As long as you're prepped. Proper prior prepreparation prevents piss poor performance.
I need you to write me that down so I can memorize that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Sounds like you had 6 years of prep, and that's crazy. That's cool.
Because like if you just went and tried ayahuasca, like, oh yeah, let's go get fucked up, you would not get out of it what I got out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I was mentally prepped for this. So yeah, it like you said, all of those key points is a massive factor into I think why I went so deep into all of my ceremonies.
So you sat down, you go into your meditative position.
Yep, sat down, went into my meditative position, and he started off with like akaros, which are like sacred songs, which are either passed down by his shaman that taught him, some were even made up by him as well. And he would sort of start off with like this really beautiful angelic voice that would he would start with his akaros, and I just kind of like, just went into that sort of like trance like state. And then sometimes, so it would take, anywhere between like 20 to 60 minutes for the ayahuasca brew to actually kick in. But from memory, it was every single time he started off with the drums, it was like this wave, like it would just take over me. And so he started the drums and I felt it just fully kick in, and it came in this big wave and just kind of just went over my whole entire body. And I remember sitting there just going, wow, like this is so intense, but like so relaxing and so peaceful at the same time. And all of like the songs and the musical instruments that he was playing, it was like the best thing that I've ever heard in my entire life. Damn. Like the best song I've ever heard in my entire life. And like I remember Mother Ayahuasca just caressing me. Like I was laying down at that point, and then she just stood me up from my mat, and then I started doing like this dance. It was like this sacred dance. I don't even know what I was doing, but I was just like, she was just taking over my body completely. It was like, I felt like a bird soaring through the sky. Like I was just, my arms and everything was just like in like one with this music that he was playing. It was so mesmerizing and so beautiful, like so much bliss, so much joy, so much happiness. I think I explained it to Alex, like it was better than Christmas Day as a child. Like it was better than falling in love for the first time. It was better than any high of any drug that I'd ever had. Like it was the most euphoric feeling I've ever experienced in my entire life. And she just made me trust her. Like she just gave me this total sense of trust in her, and I was just blown away by the experience. Like, but the whole first experience was just nothing but pure happiness, like true enlightenment, and like absolutely no suffering. Like I was free from any suffering or any burdens that I might have been holding on to over the years. You know what I mean? It was just nothing but complete joy.
Damn, that's fucking so crazy to even imagine for me, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, oh, life's so shit, blah, 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 but I mean, just to feel 100% complete in a way, just to feel 100% done, finished, no worries, no stress, no responsibilities, no nothing, there's what's tomorrow, what's yesterday, now, you know, like present. Was that a good word? Present,
absolutely. Like, I was so present with her on that first journey, and I was so present with myself on that first journey, and I was just I was free from any suffering. Like, I felt like I had reached enlightenment, and I know that, you know, you can go up the steps and you get to enlightenment, you can fall back down again, but it was like she kept me in what I would describe as heaven for the entire, I think I tripped for 8 hours.
Damn, bro.
Yeah.
That's like, how does it feel like 8 hours? How
does it feel? Absolutely not. It does not feel like 8 hours at all. It dead set feels like, honestly, time doesn't exist. Time didn't exist throughout that ceremony, but no, it definitely didn't feel like that. And I still remember, like, when like, because he goes through, like, you know, an outro of, you know, bringing you out of the ceremony and trying to get you away from, you know, that realm, so to speak, and I was just like, I'm not ready to come out of this. I did not want to come out of this. Like, it was just
bro, I caught a plane, I lost my luggage, I prepped for 6 years for this day.
I was like, I don't want this to end, man. Like, don't bring me out of this yet. But
like, I gotta go to bed on Christmas at 5 p.m. You know what I mean?
Literally. Literally. I didn't want it to end straight up. I was just like, no, keep me here.
And all right, having a previous experience with any psychedelics, did it feel similar in any way, or was this a whole new way of thinking and feeling?
This was honestly a whole new way of thinking and feeling. Like, as I said, I cried with happiness on mushrooms, and I felt, you know, euphoria on mushrooms. But this was like next level euphoria. Yeah. Next level. Like, imagine the most happiest time of your life and times that by 10,000.
Oh, like, you know, it was a good one to say. When you said falling in love.
Yeah.
When you said falling in love, it's not even, I think you said it's better than that.
It was better than that.
I think to myself, like, fuck, that's a good feeling, you know
what I mean? It was
like,
better than falling in love for the first time.
Wow.
Like,
wow, that's awesome.
Just so much love, so much happiness, so much joy, bliss, like, just this sense of euphoria, like, one can only imagine.
Yeah. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to imagine it. Well, you are painting a very good picture for me to try and understand. And if time didn't exist inside of this, like, how aware were you of your physical presence? Like, you know, when you said you got up and you danced and you felt like a bird in the sky, right? Could you tell you were physically on this planet, on this ground, standing, and you were moving around the way you felt, or were you internally just experiencing it in your mind?
Both.
Okay.
So it's really quite interesting, and as I said to you on the phone, like, there's really no words to explain the experience of ayahuasca through the English vocabulary.
Yeah.
But yes, I could still be present. Like, I knew I was in the Maloka. I knew that I was there, right? I knew, you know, I was physically there. But my mind, what I was seeing and what I was feeling was like I was in a whole other reality. I was in a different dimension, but I still had one foot here. Not at all times, but for the most part.
Yeah. Okay. I you know, the slightest way I can try and understand that, which is I had an experience once where me and a girlfriend at the time were on ketamine one night, and at the end of the night when I think party was still happening downstairs, to be honest with you, but we were upstairs, and our bodies weren't just connected, but our souls were dancing. Like, it was like I literally was in the moment. But I was also, and this might sound crazy, but have you ever seen a PlayStation load up screen like Sony, where it goes Sony PlayStation, you see the lights like twirl around? We were those lights, you know what I mean? So I was physically aware of who I was, but I was simultaneously this energetic experience. I was light, you know what I mean? I was color at the same time, you know?
Absolutely. I completely resonate with that.
Okay.
That's exactly how it was. It was like I was this essence of consciousness, you know what I mean? Like that pure happiness, that TV loading, like the energy just sort of exchanging, that was me with Mother Ayahuasca. Like I met her for the first time on that ceremony, and she is nothing but pure love.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so so the shaman brings you back.
Yep.
And did you have was that entire first experience just a connection between you and ayahuasca? Yep. Okay, cool.
It was like, here I am. You can trust me. Follow me and let me take you on this journey of what you need to know.
Damn, and did you feel that on the first night, or was it only a few nights later that you realised that's what the first night was? Like, did you feel like you were being invited into trusting her on that night?
Yes, that was absolutely it. I felt like I was definitely being invited into trusting her, because obviously for your first experience, like, you don't know what to expect, or you don't know what it's going to be like or whatever, but it was almost like, here's what it can be.
Yeah.
This is how good you can feel.
Damn.
You know what I mean? This is me. This is who I am. But yeah, throughout the experiences, she showed me different sides as well. Okay,
damn. All right. So you get dropped. Sorry, I'm going to just quickly call.
You're right.
Oh, actually, you know what? I was meant to text this guy. I might have to quickly do this.
No, go for it.
Okay, sorry for that. So just like I accidentally ruined us from that conversation and brought us both out of it, when you got brought out of...
Yeah, I was like, fuck you. Don't bring me out of this just yet.
Yeah, just like the shaman did. He brought you out of it. Mm-hmm. After that experience, and how long, you said it was about an 8-hour experience, how long until you start to feel what we call sober again? Like, how long did that take?
Good question. So after the experience, it took me a while. I laid on that mattress and in the maloka. I remember the shaman left, and I was still there like, not ready to leave yet. I'm staying here. I'm staying right here. And so my body after it felt like I'd just ran a marathon. I was like, holy fuck, like my body is so exhausted. Like, but my mind, the mental stimulation of my mind was just like I'd racked like a gram of cocaine. You know what I mean? Like I was like wired.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly what a bender feels like.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And I guess 8 hours of it too. Like you're bound to feel like that. But yeah, so it was kind of like my physical body was just absolutely exhausted, but my mental, like, it was just like beaming. So I sat there, and after it, we would all sort of like have an open discussion if we wanted to. We didn't have to share our experience, but I didn't for the most part share actually until like after, like in the kitchen. So after we left the Maloka, me and Joe would always, because as I said, he had to fast from 1 p.m. in the afternoon, so I was starving at that point.
And what time does the ceremony end?
Well, at this point, it was like, well, it starts at like, let's say when sun goes down. So I remember he would light a candle, and that's when you know to walk into the Maloka. So it would probably be like 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So I know it'd finish at like early hours of the morning.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But like sometimes I'd be in that kitchen at like 3, 4 a.m. Yeah. It's just still wired.
Wow.
Yeah.
At night in the Amazon's pretty crazy. Eh?
Yeah. Candles out. Like and then me and Joe would make a feed, and we'd make a cup of tea, and we'd sit down, and then we'd just get chatting, and then that's when it all sort of came out. Like, but then also days later as well. So the next day was always like a reflection day, where I would spend most of my days just laying in a hammock. I would swim in like the little river that was there, and I would just do a lot of self-reflection, I didn't really journal that much, to be honest with you. I probably should have journaled a little bit more, but it's all in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we would do like flower baths as well. So like shaman's wife, she would sit outside, and she'd like pour, like she'd make a brew and pour this flower, like, I don't even know what you would call
tea?
it. Like a tea, like a flower brew of this, like a tea, and pour it over us and give us a flower bath, and then it would kind of like clear our energy, and that always made me feel better, because it was kind of like the next day you would have like a bit of a headache, a bit of a migraine, because I guess you're so high up, and then you're kind of coming back down. But then after the flower bath, I always felt heaps better. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And are you staying well hydrated through these experiences as well? Are you told you can drink water and things like that? Like, yeah. Is it important to, or do they tell you not to, or does it matter?
Well, I didn't have anything after the 1 p.m. Like you don't really have any, you can't eat anything or, drink anything. I didn't have too much water or anything like that. But then on the off days, you can, but still you're not eating anything like unprocessed or, not too many meats or anything heavy. Like, I was eating a lot of fruits and, eggs or whatever really. But
so very good stuff in your body,
unprocessed foods. Like I lived on an unprocessed diet.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then how long until the second ceremony starts? Is that the following day?
No. So usually you'd have a few days off.
Okay.
Yeah. And also the shaman was doing like a a dieta is what they call it. So like it also depended on his mental as well, like when he was ready to do the next ceremony.
Oh, that's a question I had to ask you. Did he do it with you guys?
Yes, always. But he, as I mentioned, it gets more potent every time that you have it. So he would only have to have like the littlest bit in order to feel the effects of it. But yeah, he would every time trip with us. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So you've had a few days of Anna, you talking about your experience with the shaman in your off days as well. Was he asking questions?
Yeah. Like he was, an open book as well. Like you could talk to him at any point, but I found my main source of, conversating, like to, I guess get all of like unpack it all was with Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and Joe spent, a lot of nights together just in, where the hammocks were and there was books and sort of stuff. Like we would just sit there and just like conversate, like, what do you take from that? What are you learning type of thing? So Joe was my main sort of like sounding board. More so than the shaman.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Wouldn't it be funny if the shaman was like hanging out in the hammocks too? Just like, man, it was so crazy. Like, he's like using you guys as like a vent, That'd be so cool.
And his wife was a good, like, a good outlet for me too to talk to.
And was she also someone who's I'm assuming she would have gone through experiences with ayahuasca herself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's how they met. She went on one of his trips.
Oh, yeah? Wow, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but she would do it by herself as well. Like, she didn't necessarily need David to sit with ayahuasca. So she would do it herself on some days if she wasn't feeling too well or, just needed a little bit of introspection. She would just, go into her house on the other side of the retreat and do it.
Damn, okay, wow. So, run me through this second ceremony. You know it's coming up. You're getting ready. You're fasted at 1 p.m. Mm-hmm. You're getting ready. Do you come forth this time with any different intentions?
Yes. So after the smoking ceremony, after cleansing my energy, I remember, getting called back up to the table. And this time I sort of wanted to heal, you know what I mean? Because as I said, my South America journey was all about healing and self-discovery. So I really wanted to gain healing. And after all of the physical ailments that I went through as a kid, being born with a hereditary disease, having my body attack itself, being in constant pain. Like I remember, having gallstone attacks after gallstone attacks, I just had so much physical diseases. I had polyps all through my colon, like my appendix ruptured, like I had countless surgeries. I've got scars all over my stomach, and then a lot of all these physical illnesses resulted in a lot of mental illnesses as well, like depression, anxiety, PTSD, all those sort of things. And I just didn't want to suffer anymore. I just was like, just heal me, please, like make me better, like fix me.
Yeah.
And this second journey was crazy to me. Like I can still visualize the visuals that I had in this second ceremony.
Okay, paint me a picture.
So basically, that was my intention. Set my intention to heal. And I laid down on the mat and just completely surrendered to her. And I remember I was kind of in like a starfish position, and she came through to me, and I remember my whole entire body expanding out. Like I became so big. Like I was just expanded into this like humongous body and all of my organs stretched out, everything, all my limbs, everything was just completely stretched out. And I remember fully seeing the internal image of ayahuasca's vines wrapping herself around each and every single one of my organs and each and every single one of my cells and just rinsing it out. And then I felt it from my root chakra all through my entire body, all the way up into my crown chakra. And by the time, this was hours, I presume, by the time she reached my crown chakra, it just exploded out the top of my head. And I felt like I purged any toxic energy, any toxic thought, any toxic thing that was in my body over the last 26 years of my life at that point. It just went out, just felt it go and dissipate into nothingness. It just completely left my body, and I was like, I feel healed. It was the most incredible feeling. Like I can't even.
And what about so you're visually experiencing this vines wrap through you, and when it was, as you said, rinsing it and squeezing it, did it feel like energy being released each time it happened?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I felt that.
And then oh my gosh, it kind of, you're making me imagine, and if I'm wrong, correct me please, but it's like you're collecting all the shit that's been rinsed out until you pour the bucket out. You know what I mean?
That bucket came out of my head. It just went out. Like, it was incredible. The feeling of it was incredible. And then, that was when I sort of also, like, I purged as well. Like, so when you do take ayahuasca, like, you shit, you spew, like, you hurl, like, you cry and all that sort of stuff. But it was like a good feeling, you know what I mean? Like, obviously the idea of spewing is not that, doesn't sound that great, but it was like, yes, get it out. Like, it felt amazing to spew and to shit and to just cry. Like, it was awesome. People were like, I don't want to do ayahuasca because of that. But, like, seriously, if it was good, like, it was so good.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Wow, that's such a crazy experience to feel yourself expand like that. And was that... You say you assume it was an hours-long process, but how long did that process feel like when you were going through it, you know? Like, oh, wow. Wow.
Felt so fast.
Yeah.
Like, it was over in a blink of an eye.
Damn.
Like, it did not feel like 6 to 8 hours. I don't even know how long it was, but it didn't feel like hours at all.
And once that happened, are you... And I'm curious as well, at what point have you started to refer to ayahuasca as... the feminine energy or the woman ayahuasca? What do you call it? Mother ayahuasca?
Yeah.
At any point so far, have you started to feel like it is feminine or mother? Or is it speaking to you as in you can hear it, or you're just feeling it?
It's a feeling. And it was on the first trip, the first ceremony, I should say, that I felt the feminine energy. Like, you know, you know, you could just feel her. And all of the things that, like, you know, I took and all the things that I learned, it wasn't like someone speaking to you. It was just like a telepathic knowing. And I telepathically knew and felt it was a feminine energy. Yeah.
Okay, that's crazy. Okay, so once you had this purge or release at the end of this second ceremony, was that the end of this first experience, or was there more that you went through, like, before you kind of got sober again? You know what I mean? Before the explosion of the head.
From my experience and from my memory, that was pretty much it.
Wow.
It was literally just like, you know, going through. Well, also a lot of the psychological as well. So that was the physical, but it took me through journeys of, like, my mental illnesses that I had carried over, 26 years of my life, and, like, understanding and, like, sort of understanding it, why it was there, like, why I was suffering mentally, and it sort of just pointed it out to me at that point.
Yeah. And did you feel like that was also part of the squeezing of toxins, and that was released with it? Or were you just becoming aware of some of the reasons as to why you felt a certain way? Was it just the physical things that you felt got released, or was it also the mental things got released?
No, at this point, just the physical.
Okay. All right.
Third one was more mental.
Okay. So that's crazy. So the first night felt like an infinite amount of time. The second night felt like a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And it was both probably around the same amount of time, which is pretty cool. And I know this isn't part of your experience as well, but are you able to witness Joe? Was his name? Was it Joe? Are you able to witness Joe? And is there any connection between you and Joe, or is it completely a solo mission?
So on my fourth ceremony,
we won't skip to that.
Yeah,
we'll go to the third. We'll go to the third. Okay. At least I'm leading in the right direction. Right. Okay. So I'm assuming the next following days were more of a reflective process. You and Joe talking about, and David's wife as well. And do you also feel the same feelings the next day? Like, you still feel like you got a bit of a headache, you still feel the kind of same thing? And are they still doing the flower baths, all this stuff as well?
Yeah. And I did a lot of, like, mud baths as well. So they had, like, this, I don't even know, it was just, I think it was natural, but it was like a mud spa.
Yeah.
And me and Joe would, like, literally just go and roll ourselves in it, paint ourselves in it, and then bake in the sun. And it was like a clay, like, our whole body just turned into, like, hard clay. And then we'd go and jump in one of the little rivers on his retreat and then wash it all off.
Like, trying to see how hard it can get.
Yeah, like, you know how you do those face masks? It was like that, but over my entire body, which was sick. And then, we'd just sunbake and, chat, and I'd read books and just, spend a lot of time in the hammock and just, like, self-reflecting and just, like, just giving myself that time to reflect.
And are you excited for the next one the entire time?
Yep, at this point, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, bit of foreshadowing there. All right, so third night, what does that experience look like?
Yeah, so the third...
And let me just say so far, even second night, that's probably the craziest human experience I've ever, to be honest with you.
Might I add, like, so I had physical diseases, right, that were for life. Since returning home, I went and got checked out by this doctor, and I no longer have this physical disease that was for life.
What?
Yep. So not only is it a figment of my imagination, but scientifically, it actually...
That's fucking crazy. I was going to ask you in the beginning of the episode, how are you handling these symptoms of this life-term illness now? I'm glad I didn't ask the question, because for you to tell me now that it's gotten rid of them, I reckon most scientists would probably disagree that's possible, to be honest with you. Yeah. That's crazy. That's sick. Fuck.
I'm yet to go back for a colonoscopy, because I've said no, because I've been away. I was living away and whatever. I'm yet to go back for a colonoscopy, because last colonoscopy I had 22 polyps throughout my colon.
Wow.
Wow. All of that's gonna. Well, I was told, you're gonna have to have surgery for the rest of your life, because this is probably gonna turn into colon cancer. So you got to keep coming back and having them chopped out, essentially. Which, no one wants to hear that. Like, I'm probably going to die of colon cancer one day. How great is that? But anyway, touch wood.
Yeah. I've never seen this.
But yeah, so I'm yet to go back. And if I go back and I have it, which I'm going to do this year, if I go back and I don't have polyps anymore, that just solidifies it again.
You'll be another case study, eh?
Mate, I'll be the happiest woman alive. I'm never seeing you again.
Yeah. No dentists, no doctors, no physios. Oh, sweet. Damn. All right.
But yeah, so definitely.
Third night. That's, for starters, that's amazing. So I'm so happy for you that that's even possible, to be honest with you.
I know.
I would have never thought that would be possible. So that's awesome. Now, can you please run me through this third night, which says a bit of a mental journey?
Yeah. So third night was mainly about self-awareness and weirdly premonitions and life purpose. You know what I mean? What am I doing here?
And sorry, what's premonitions? What do you mean by premonition?
So a premonition is seeing something that's going to happen in the future.
Oh, yeah, okay.
In the now.
Oh, so like a prophecy. Almost.
Yeah, I had prophecies in my third ceremony.
Damn, fuck, okay. Let's not skip over it. Let's go deep into it.
Yeah, it's really, really weird.
Right. Okay, and is it the same kind of thing every night where the drums are bringing you in, the music's inviting you?
Yes.
And is it a quick encounter with ayahuasca and then you're wrapped, or is it like a slow build up, kind of like a mushroom trip?
Yep, slow build up like a mushroom trip.
Yeah.
So it comes in waves, really came and went in waves. And mind you, throughout the ceremonies as well, you would go in and out. There was never, as I said in the first explanation, I knew I was in the Maloka, but then I would go off into my transcendental state, and then I'd sort of come back and I knew I was in the Maloka, and I'd go back off on my transcendental state. It was kind of consistent like that through all of them. The only time that it wasn't was on the fourth one, which we'll get into that.
Awesome.
But yeah.
So this third night, how did the journey start?
So I set my intentions for her to, I guess, show me parts of myself that I was unaware of. My shadow self, really diving deep into, myself and my relationships and why I am the way I am, and, how can I sort of detach from that and let go of negative traits, so to say, and become the best version of myself so that I can, grow and evolve and whatever. And so she sort of went through, it was very mentally healing, this third one. And yeah, I guess I seen things, as I said, in my prophecies that she mentally prepared me for. So back in the day, I would normally get very angry, very aggressive, very not emotionally intelligent whatsoever, just anger outbursts, reactive as fuck. Never once did I breathe and respond. I would just react. I was hot-headed. People would call me psychotic. I was just, this crazy little Abby running around, just reactive to everything. And after that third ceremony, I really understood, don't react. Sit with yourself, breathe, You can respond. You know what I mean? You can control yourself here. You can really control yourself here. All these situations, yeah, they are fucked up. Like all the shit that you've been through is fucked up. Acknowledge it, accept it, but let go of it. So then I went through what you could say healing. So through this prophecy that I was shown, she mentally prepared me. She showed me something that was going on at home that if I was there at the time, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Probably would have reacted the same way that I always did. But she gave me the insight and I forgave the situation before it even happened.
Wow.
Incredible.
And when you say something happening at home, you got the prophecy of something to happen in the future. Is that what you're talking about?
So
or you're reflecting on something that happened in the past?
In the future.
Yeah,
so it
wow.
hadn't happened yet.
Wow.
But I was seeing it in my third ceremony. I saw it was coming. Two things I saw that hadn't happened yet. But this one in particular was to do with, you know, people that meant the world to me. You know what I mean? People that I didn't ever think would do wrong by me that did, you know what I mean? And I think like I just completely forgave. Like it was really weird. Like I'd never experienced forgiveness because I held on to so much resentment and anger and hatred and bitterness and, you know, just aggression, and it just all dissipated. It completely left my body. Like I was at so much ease and I felt so much calmness and clarity, and I just really felt this total sense of, forgiveness and self-awareness that I'd never really understood about myself or others, and, you know, and my part in it as well. You know what I mean? Like all these people that have done me dirty, yeah, so what? I've done them dirty too. You know what I mean? And I got out of this victim mentality and became like I guess into that cause and effect mentality of like, I am the creator. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a victim. You know what I mean? So let people do as they please. Don't get attached to anyone. Don't get attached to anything. Like all of that it's not going to help at the end of the day. It's really not. Like
that's so cool.
Move through life like a jellyfish. You know what I mean?
It's nice to know that forgiveness is the gift you give yourself. You don't really forgive someone for someone else.
No.
I had something that happened, I can't tell you how long ago now. Let's just call it years ago now, right? Where two parties were responsible in my betrayal. And I was very quick to react to it, but I don't even know how or what or why, but I decided not to respond. I just sat with it quickly. And then everyone in my own life was saying like, oh, you know, everyone was backing me up. What are we going to do about it kind of thing? And I was like,
nothing.
Let's just leave it and wait, you know. And I waited and waited and waited a long time until eventually I forgave the people involved. And everyone since have actually asked me like, oh, I can't believe you would have forgave them. Like I would have done this, I would have done that, you know. And don't get me wrong, the thoughts are always there, trying to go through it. But my same response to everyone is like, I didn't do it for them. Like I did it for me. Like I feel better because of it. Like I would still be pissed off at it, to be honest, to this day if I chose to react to it. But it's very hard, and I can understand why people do react, but it's like, I'm not going to teach anyone a lesson. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to teach anyone a lesson. You know what I mean? I can cut something out of my life, but like, they're just going to do it to someone else. Like,
absolutely.
It's something that me and my old man actually always go back and forth on. He's got road rage. This cunt needs to learn. So you're not teaching him shit, bro. Yeah.
Yep.
So to get that clarity would have been a nice, especially if it was a lot of things at once that you got to release from.
Yeah.
Did you feel, I can imagine, lighter?
I did. I felt at peace. I didn't have any mental anguish anymore. Like I was just so mentally, like my mind was convoluted with darkness.
Convoluted's a word.
It
bro.
Was just
what a word that was.
Like, but all these people, I used to get called cold, like heartless, psychotic, all these words. And you know what? They were pretty right. Because
and how did it feel when you were called them? Were you like...
I would react.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Like, I'd hate it. And the reason why it got under my skin so much is because deep down I probably knew that it was truth. You know what I mean? But I no longer had that. It left. And I just was at this total peace, total clarity, and total self-awareness. I think with awareness, acknowledging it, I first had to acknowledge my defaults. I had to be aware of them, and then I had to let go of them. Like and it took me through that process.
Okay. So you kind of got to go through the journey with ayahuasca, like, this is what happened. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that is what happened. And it's like, this is why that happened. And then you're like, fuck, bro, that was me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it all comes back to me at the end of the day. Like, my reality is like, it's all up to me. You know what I mean? I am the creator of my reality at the end of the day. So are you. So is everybody. But
it's hard to even believe. I understand it. I do believe it. But I'm saying it is hard to believe that, like, we are responsible for our own worlds, but we are all simultaneously doing it at the same time. So
absolutely.
Like, that means literally the world does revolve around me.
100%.
But that means it literally revolves around you.
Absolutely.
You know? Like, it is pretty crazy to even try to understand it, but I feel like I understand it, you know? But I've never had an experience to show me it. I'm just like, I just believe like I am main character. So I'm like, oh, you must believe you're main character too, you know? Yeah. That's cool. And this prophecy that you feel like you were given to for the future, were they given to you for far in the future? Like, have you experienced them yet or anything like that?
Yeah. So now it's actually crazy. I was literally telling Alex the other night, it is so wild. It dawned on me that the second prophecy had come true. Wow. So late last year is when the first prophecy that I saw came to light, and I was like, I've already forgiven it. I already know it. I was like, thank you for telling me. You know what I mean? I wasn't angry. I didn't react how I normally would have reacted. It just is. But the second prophecy hadn't come to light by then. The second prophecy, I'm happy to share this one. So the second prophecy was like of me holding like an old wrinkly man's hands, like understanding like the concept of sort of like life and death, and like understanding like that sort of like life and death is like simultaneous. You can't have one without the other type of thing. But anyway, it showed me holding this man's hands and me leading him into the afterlife. And after, I was so fucking confused. Like, I remember sitting, like, talking, debriefing the next day, thinking, like, what am I supposed to be? And then I got told, maybe you're supposed to be a death doula. And I was like, yeah, maybe. Like, what's that?
I'm a grim reaper.
Yeah, like, I thought maybe my purpose is to, like, you know, I don't know.
Work in a cemetery.
Help people, like, guide them through death or something, like, real weird. But, yeah, anyway, so recently my grandfather passed away.
Sorry for your loss about that recently.
Thank you. I still feel like he's here with me, like in spirit always. But it was really weird. So I got the phone call that, you know, he wasn't doing too well, whatever, and we all went over to the nursing home to see him. And he was obviously not okay. And then they started palliative care on him. And the family was there, and they were all sort of sitting outside, and I just had this inclination. I was like, I've got to go in there and I've got to talk to him. So I remember I was laying on the bed, and I had his head in my shoulder, and I was holding his hand, like exactly like that prophecy. At the time, I didn't realize it, but it was literally exactly what I saw in my vision. And I was speaking to him, and he said to me, like, you know, time doesn't exist, time doesn't matter, like all this stuff. And like he was kind of rattling off like in his own dream like state, and I was just saying to him, like, you know, it's okay, like and talking him through it. And I said, I'm not going to remember you like this, like I'm going to remember you for all the good things that you taught me, like, because me and him was so close. He literally was like my best friend. He taught me so much. I am who I am because of him. Like all of his traits, like I got from him, you know what I mean? We were so tight. And a lot of my free time I would spend with him. Like I can't even describe the love that I had for this man. But yeah, no, I was just so, like, you know, I was speaking to him, I might have been 10 minutes or whatever. And then my mum came in, and my mum sat on the other side of the bed, and she put her head on his heart. And I just remember like saying like it's time to go now, like it's time to go. And he took his last breaths on my chest. I felt him take his last breath, and I held his hands, and I felt his soul leave his body. Like it was the most beautiful, sad thing I've experienced. But like I'm not sad about it. I'm happy that he's out of his suffering now. Like I'm happy that he's in a better place now, because he was suffering toward the end. But yeah, it was crazy. But that was the premonition. That was the prophecy that ended up coming to life.
That is freaking crazy, man. Like I almost cried, to be honest, when you were telling me that. I tried to stop myself, so it took me a while to respond. So I'm not crying on camera, it ain't happening. But when you were going through it, did you know that's what it was? Like,
no.
Wow.
No, I had no idea until like the other night.
And to be honest, if you did realise in that moment you're doing what you prophesized, you would have freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
I would have. Maybe not freaked out, but definitely brought me out of the present moment, you know? So it's kind of a good thing that didn't happen in the moment, that you didn't realise it. But
yeah, it wasn't until weeks later that I realised, like, holy shit, that's what I saw.
Wow.
That was what I saw in the third ceremony.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really interesting.
That's more than interesting, man.
Yeah.
Like, write a book. yeah. Damn. Okay, that's cool. And your pop growing up in your life, like you're saying, you two were really close. Was the whole family close, or was it just you and your pop mostly? Was everyone close together?
Like my family is a little fucked up, aren't we all? You know, like we from the outside looking in, we look put together, but like you know, we have our separations, and you know, we've been through our shit. Like I say to my dad in particular all the time, I said, mate, we should write a book on all the shit that has happened in our lives, because half the time people would not, looking from the outside in, you would not think it, you would not believe it, but like we've often thought about it, and maybe one day we will.
Yeah, reality TV show.
All that. Yeah, all that.
Yeah, I always thought growing up, like me and my family have a functionally dysfunctional family, and like thank God as time has gone on, we've grown really, really close as we gotten older, but there was a very long time where we didn't even know who each other were, right? Yeah. But then I was dating a girl one time, and I really got to see inside the doors of how a family can look functional, but it's not. And I was like, fuck, it gets pretty crazy out there. You know, that was fucking crazy. But
I think, you know, no family, no person is perfect. Like, we all have our, you know, mishaps. Everyone's got their own shit going on in their own heads and whatnot, and like trying to coexist with each other can be hard work sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know, we all love each other at the end of the day. Like me and my family, you know, some of us aren't on speaking terms or whatever. Hopefully one day that'll change. But, you know, we've been through a lot together, a lot of heartaches, but also a lot of good times too. So.
Yeah. And it's the bad times that make the good times, realistically. Yeah. Like, how could it be so good without it once being so bad? You know?
Exactly right. Yeah. You wouldn't learn to appreciate the good if you didn't have the bad times, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. You got to experience that with your pop, and you got to really be that voice that guided him through life crazy. And death simultaneously.
It's crazy. And you know what is even weirder? Like my mum said to me that like this lady told her when I was in my mum's womb that me and Pop were going to have a special bond, that we're going to have this special connection, and I was the first nappy that he changed out of his own children and grandchildren. Wow. So like we really did like have this connection like no other. He was like, yeah, he meant everything to me. Yeah. And, you know, normally I guess like, you know, there's two ways you could react to that situation. And like, you know, I could be depressed and go on a downward spiral and be miserable and sad that he's gone and whatnot. But at the end of the day, like I'm so at peace with his passing because I know he's in a better place now. And, you know, I'm just glad that I could be that person that helped guide him into that afterlife.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm grateful for
to
have felt his last breath.
Oh, of course. I can't imagine that. But on what you just said, I don't know if this is going to make sense because it popped into my mind as you were saying it, right? But it's not that you don't have to feel sad for the fact that he's gone, because you can still feel that while simultaneously feeling appreciative of the time that you spent together and alive. Because I think the problem with sadness is people always, including myself, always assume that it's the only thing happening at the time. But when you learn to balance, when you do become more with like Taoism, with yin and yang, you find that line in the middle, both sides are simultaneous happening. It's like lightness, and I see happiness as lightness is always going to outshine darkness. And it's why even in a room brightly lit like this, if this makes sense, it might not, but it's technically still dark in here, but there's also light happening at the same time. The light's just more powerful than the darkness is, even though they're pretty much both there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I see happiness and sadness, and finding peace is kind of not removing sadness or even frustration or anything like that from your life, but it's learning how to manage that as also moving forward, you know? You can't get rid of it. You get rid of it, you're in denial, you're running from our problems, you know, not facing them. So, yeah, it's awesome. It's mad that you got to experience that.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's crazy. All right. Was that like, was that whole journey with the mental experience on the third night, was it all to do with going through your own past and a quick little couple glimpses into the future?
Yeah.
And then what was the final thing? Do you remember experiencing the final thing for that night?
The final thing was kind of like my life's purpose, because I guess like everyone goes through their own life's journey, right? And you're all wondering, what the fuck are we doing here? Like I often wondered, like, what the fuck is the point of all of this?
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, what are we doing here?
You know what I mean? Myself that.
And I think everyone does. You know what I mean? I really do think, because at the end of the day, we're going to die anyway. We're all going to be put on back into the earth. You know what I mean? So I think it was really actually quite simple. And life is overcomplicated by the human mind. But Mother Ayahuasca basically showed me like my life's purpose, and my life's purpose I understand now is to just be light, to be love, to give love, and to just live life to its fullest, to experience all the things that I can possibly experience in the time that I have here, and to fully experience it with all of my 5 senses that I'm lucky enough to have, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's as simple as that.
That's a great philosophy, though. Like, it's a great philosophy. I've always told myself I want to experience. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to taste every flavor, smell every smell, see everything, hear everything, and preach as much as I can on the process. Like,
absolutely,
that's what I'm here for. But I have to recognize and accept, which is the hardest part about it, is that also comes with everything that smells like shit. Everything that tastes bad, everything that hurts my eyes, everything I don't want to hear, you know what I mean?
100%.
Like, I have to experience that too. And in that 100%. Process, obviously, it becomes heartbreak. Obviously, in that process, it becomes betrayal. It becomes suffering, addiction, depression, anxiety. Like, all these problems do come up to face with it, but it's like, well, I signed up for this.
Yep.
I literally asked to feel it all, you know what I mean? So...
Absolutely, which literally brings me into my 4th and 5th ceremony. Okay. Is literally the concept of that and the depth and the understanding of what you are just saying.
Okay, cool. And you also mentioned as well, you foreshadowed the fact that you and Joe are a little bit present of each other throughout your ceremony as well. And that was included in your 4th experience. So
that was it, yeah. So that's this next one that I'll share. So on my 4th ceremony, I just kind of went into it with open mind, really. I wasn't really sure what my intentions were. I just was kind of like, just show me what you think I need to see. Whatever, you know, kind of similar to the first one. Just show me what I need to see.
Because I can imagine by this point, you're kind of like, I've seen it all. You know
yeah.
Like, what else is there?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I was so, you know, I was just ready to hear whatever she had to share with me again. That was pretty much the intention of the 4th. And so I remember, you know, same process, got caught up, went in, drank it, sat back down, drums started. I started to feel the waves come on and whatever. And fuck me, the 4th ceremony was intense.
Yeah.
It was.
Did it hit you more intense than the other ones?
Yeah. And I think maybe the potency getting higher and higher and higher, but also she wanted to show me hell.
Oh, fuck.
She wanted to show me the concept of hell. So the first ceremony was like, I would say heaven, euphoria, lightness, bliss. The 4th ceremony was the complete opposite. It was the darkest form of energy I have ever encountered. And still to this day, I've been through some fucked up shit. Still to this day, that is the darkest encounter I've ever had. Like, it was depths of fear, depths of sadness, grief, depression, like just evil spirit, evil energy, just darkness. Like what you imagine hell to be is what I experienced in my 4th ceremony, and it was fucking torture. Like I can't even explain the anguish of pain I went through on my 4th ceremony. Like,
and were you trying to fight it? Were you like, I don't want this? Were you like, no, like, or were you just like still trying to trust the process like you were told in the first night?
I think there was a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I think I tried to go with it for as long as I could go with it. Like, and it was hours. Like, I felt myself literally become nothing and nobody. I felt every hair fall out of my head. I felt the physical body of me melt away into the abyss of just consciousness, but in the dark side.
Non-existence.
And I was nothing and nobody. I was not Abby Waldron anymore. I no longer identified as myself. Like, I was just this pure consciousness observing total fucking hell. Like, no identity. And it was fucking scary. Like, I was, as I said, I tried not to fight it. I just melted away. I just went with it, and I just melted away into the abyss of nothing. But then it got to the point where I was like, I can't fucking handle this anymore. And so the calling, if you needed help, was to knock 3 times on the floor. And I knocked 3 times on the floor, and David came over, and I couldn't see. Like, so at this point, I was not present with this reality. I didn't know where the fuck I was. I was not here. And I remember him blowing smoke on me and him standing me up and taking me outside into the toilet. And oh my God, Father, I literally shat, spewed, cried, screamed, like you name it. It all came out of me. Like, it was just horrific. I reckon I spent an hour in the toilet outside, maybe longer. I don't even know. But I purged and purged and purged and purged and purged until I sort of like realized, okay, I'm back in this, like I'm here. Like, I'm not there anymore. I'm back here. And then he came back over, and I ended up smoking the Mapacho, because the Mapacho like sort of like levels you out a little bit. But yeah, man, I was seeing demons. I was seeing all sorts of things. Like, these visuals are like,
wow. Okay.
I can't even explain it.
and once you started to smoke it, did you start to become sober again, or were you still in trance?
I was still in the dark energy. The whole 4th ceremony was just darkness. I was still there, but I could handle it now. Like, I was, still, yeah, I guess it was still surrounding me, but I was no longer like where I was initially.
Yeah.
Like, the Mapacho helped and the purging helped.
Yeah. Okay. And did you feel any paranoia for the actual world around you? Did you start to feel unsafe in reality? Were you like, I don't trust at the moment, like I don't want to be around these people, or like, because a lot of times when people experience a bad trip, they're not just suffering with their own problems, they're struggling to accept the world around them as well. Like, fuck, who is this guy? It could be your own dad, and you're like, bruv, who's this guy? You know what I mean? Like, I know he's raised me, but maybe it was a fucking plan this whole time, you know? So like, was it anything to do with that in the real world, or was it just while you were experiencing the hypnosis of what it was?
I think it was just, I didn't have too much paranoia of, the external world or anything like that. Although previously to, my healing journey, I did have a lot of that. I went through a few like psychosis, probably drug induced, not too sure. But like, it wasn't really like that. No, it was just more so the opposite of what I encountered on the first ceremony. It was just kind of like showing me the dark force of energy, that's at play, like that yin and yang. Like the first ceremony was like the concept of heaven, that lightness, and then this one was just showing me the concept of hell, and the darkness that inhabits this realm.
Okay,
but it wasn't really like, when I came out of it, like, I'll be real, I wanted to pack my bags and leave. I was like, I'm not fucking going back. I'm not touching that. I want to go home. Like, not home, but I want to get out of the Amazon. Like, get me away from here. I'm not doing another ceremony. And then I remember speaking with the shaman, and he was sort of like, Abby, if you want to leave, you can leave. But I think that you should stay for one more. I don't think that she's finished with you yet. I think she has one more message to give to you, one more, experience to be had, one more insight.
And were you confused after this reflecting process? Like, why did you show me that? Like,
absolutely. I couldn't fathom.
Yeah.
Why did she want me to encounter that? Why did she want me to go into the depths and of that much despair and that much fear? And I felt, so after I purged and everything like that and was smoking the Mapacho, like, I was still surrounded by that negative energy, and I could feel Joe's, and like, I don't want to share too much of his story because it's not my story to share, but I know and I felt the suffering that he endured for a lot of his life. And it was really quite sad. And what I came to realize is, like, this energy inhabits all of us. It doesn't matter your experiences. Like, the worst thing to happen to you might have been breaking your leg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or the worst thing that could have happened to you is watching your best friend get murdered.
Yeah.
Either way, it's the same.
Yeah, the worst thing that's ever happened is the worst thing that's ever happened.
Exactly. And like I understood that like despair comes with everyone. Everyone inhabits this dark energy. Everyone goes through this suffering. Everybody has it within us. I have it within me. You have it within you. Everyone. It makes that all consciousness has this dark side of energy, and that's what I understood that ayahuasca was sort of showing me.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of the message you got out of it as well. Like you're not just going through this. Everyone's going through
Everyone's going through it. Yeah. Like you think, when you are so isolated, and I mean, like as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, like I felt like no one understood me. I felt like I was the only one going through this shit because like, nobody else that was around me at the time was, going through anything like I was going through. And, yeah, but then what I realized is like, everybody has suffering and everyone has, dark thoughts and dark energy that they have within them. But that's, it's not worse than mine, or mine's not any better than theirs. You know what I mean? Like everyone's got this within them. They've got that force.
Is it fair to say that you felt like no one understood you before, but reality, like you didn't understand anyone else?
Yeah, as well, because like I thought like no one else is feeling this suffering the way that I'm feeling it, but we all are.
Yeah, just in different ways.
We all suffer.
Yeah, I've kind of realized, especially through doing this podcast, hearing people's stories, hearing people's experiences. I have people on that are like not even adults yet, to be honest. I think I've done a couple of people that are 17, but then I've had people on that were like 50s, in the 60s. I had a guy, Mario, he's one of my good friends, he's in his 60s, yeah. And I realized, like, I think that everyone is actually going through the exact same journey. We're just going through our stages of the journey at different times, and we're putting a different label on our journey. So when you get to the end, if you were to take everyone's life and you were to compartmentalize it onto different pieces of paper, and you shuffled them all up, and I gave you yours and you gave me mine, we'd be reading the exact same paper. You know what I mean? Like Absolutely. It's the same story.
Absolutely. But different experiences.
Yeah, there's different, that's what I mean by labels.
Same feelings of suffering, same feelings of happiness, or, like that. We all go through that lightness, and we all go through that darkness, just through different experiences.
Yeah, like the feeling of, let's just call it like loss. One guy might go, man, I was married to the love of my life and she divorced me and took everything. But then the other person's version of loss is like my best friend committed suicide, or it could be like my partner passed away. Anything, loss could be I lost my job. You know what I mean? Loss is loss.
Yeah.
But we just label it with why we felt that thing. Yeah. So of course we're going to assume no one knows what I'm going through. No one else went through my journey. But it's like, fuck, we all fucking. Yeah. Why do you have a different feeling than me?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's absolutely crazy. So that's a crazy. And when you reflected on it, I know you didn't want to share Joe's experience, but when you reflected on it with him, did he also feel like he didn't have a very good experience that night as well?
Well, yeah, he didn't, and after it, he was very open. Joe was a very open book, and he did share a lot of his suffering with me, and I felt a lot of it. Like I really did. I felt a lot of it, which is sad, but such is life. Like I felt it, he felt it, you feel it, everyone feels it. But it's just about like, acknowledging it and then trying to let go of it, I guess, and just understanding that it is just a part of the process of life.
Yeah. And without you knowing what it feels like, you'll never be able to know what they feel like either, because I reckon this would have been 137 weeks in a row I've said this on the podcast, so I'm overusing it, but empathy is the output for the input that was trauma. So it's until you've gone through it, you can finally understand how someone else feels. Someone else is like, oh, bro, she left me. You kind of like, get over it, pussy. But then you lose your girlfriend, you're thinking, bro, I'm like, fuck, no one understands how bad this feels,
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, wait, maybe he had a point back then,
Like all of those feelings, like that grief and loss and sadness, like that whole fourth ceremony was just that. Like It was just mental torture. Like I can't even fathom how low, how much darkness inhabited every cell of my body. Like it was just the lowest of lows.
I feel pretty comfortable sharing these stories. Not everyone I tell this story to, right? But like, I remember one time I kind of felt like it was that moment of just like, what the, just evil, right, inside of me, and it came in a black cloud that people describe it with, or like depression, and everything was just forging into one. I remember being at a festival. I was actually tripping at this festival, right, and I had someone grab me on the back of the shoulder, and they said, I heard in my ear, physically heard them say, "Sorry, bro," like, and after "sorry, bro" it was something along the lines of like, "It's all yours," or "You can have it," or something like that. But when they touched me, I felt like every worst feeling that can ever be felt at the same time come over me. And I literally started shaking, and I just had to do it instinctively, touch the person in front of me, and I said, "Sorry, bro." And I physically watched them with my eyes. Mind you, I'm tripping. For everyone listening who hears this story, this is just my experience, what I went through. I watched them freak the fuck out, and I watched them touch the person in front of them, and I watched them freak out. And I watched this fucking thing swim through the crowd like it was a life. It was a life force. It was alive. And I just remember thinking, and I didn't have much room to didn't have much capacity to think, but I remember thinking like, what the fuck was that? You know what I mean?
So crazy.
And it's like, so I'm not saying I know what the depth of it feels like, but it's like I can kind of try and understand that like it can get pretty fucked up. You know what I mean? Mine was like 1 second, but mine was like 1 second. I gave it to someone else.
But it's crazy, like how, you know, and I often think about this, like going back to everyone has like this biofield around them, right? Like you can feel my energy when you're in my presence, or, you know, the person around me, like we pick up on each other's energies, kind of like a radio station, you know what I mean? Like if I have negative energy and I come here and I'm hanging around you, you're going to pick up on my negative energy and you're going to take that on board, and then you might share that negative energy with somebody else, and it's like it just kind of all like transmutes into everything around you, which is, you know, not a good thing. Like, but I guess I realized in the 5th ceremony is like you can control that.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. So then he convinced the David convinced you to stay.
Yep.
You said, "All right, I'm doing it." Did Joe stay as well?
Joe stayed. Yep.
Okay.
Joe stayed.
Was he hesitant as well? Like,
no, not really. Joe is definitely like he wanted to make the most out of his experience there, most out of his time there, and he really came to for that healing. So yeah, he wasn't hesitant. He was just kind of threw himself into the deep end of it as well, like I did.
Yeah.
And I just stayed as open-minded as I possibly could have.
Were you both aware that it was going to be the last ceremony?
No.
Okay.
No idea. I as I said, like when I got there, I had no idea how many ceremonies I was going to do. I had no idea how long I was going to be there for. Like, yeah, I had no idea if that was going to be the final or not, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But, yeah.
All right. Run me through then. Run me through this final ceremony.
Yeah. So, final ceremony, I was just like, explain that. You know what I mean? Like, my intention was to explain what you just put me through, please.
Explain yourself.
Why?
It's
like,
such a fun
you
intention.
want me to stay for one more, or you want me to, like, okay, I'm here. What is it? Like, tell me, show me. And so, anyway, I got put back into the trance-like state, and I went straight back into hell.
Oh, no.
I went straight back into hell, and I was thinking, for fuck's sake, like, why did I do this? Like, I was kicking myself thinking, like, just victim, you know? I shouldn't, like, just back into that victim mentality of why is she doing this to me? Like, why am I feeling this? Why am I experiencing this? Like, why? Like, I don't want to experience this anymore. And it was kind of just like, it was probably halfway through. So it was probably like 4 hours of just fucking hell again. Like I just was in that same state. I went exactly back into that trip, straight back into it. And then by the halfway point, I remember I was purging and stuff. And then I had like, I had this thought. It just went, I get to choose this. I'm the creator. I don't want to experience this anymore. I want to go back to my first ceremony. I want to feel euphoria. I want to feel bliss. I want to feel happiness. I want to feel peace. I want to feel that heaven state again. And like that, I was back in total euphoria. And it literally was just the power and the thought alone of, I don't want to feel that. I want to feel this. And this is how I want to be. And that's how I was. So then the second half of the ceremony was just total euphoria. As I said, went straight back into the first ceremony of that, just free from suffering. Like, this is the best feeling. Life is good. Like, and yeah, I guess I just took, there was so many messages that I took from that, and I still am taking from that, you know, years later. But a lot of it is, you know, one, you can't have lightness without darkness. You can't appreciate that euphoric feeling without going through that suffering. The next is you are the co-creator of your reality through your conscious thought. It's your conscious awareness of yourself and your state of being that dictates your reality. You cannot change your outer reality without first changing your inner state. And but to change your inner state, you have to change your thought process. You have to change how you speak to yourself, what you tell yourself. And your reality is nothing but a mere reflection of your own perception.
That's crazy. There's two things that pop into mind when you say that. One's a cheesy one. One's it's a song by Macklemore. I play it in my head most of the time. It's always playing in my head, right? It's a song called Growing Up. He wrote a letter to his son. And one of the lines is, don't try to change the world. Find something that you love and do it every day. Do that for the rest of your life, and eventually the world will change. And then for some reason, that's always playing in my head. I can't literally get it out of my head. But the second one is, like, I think it comes from Jordan Peterson. He says, if you want to fix the world, clean your room.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely.
And that is you couldn't have painted it any simpler than that. You know what I mean? You just went, oh no, I want it to be good.
It was crazy. It literally, like, and since that fifth ceremony, right? Like, at the end of my trip, I went through something that was so fucked up, so mentally fucked up. And during that time, it was almost like I had to remember that lesson of that fifth ceremony. And then now, even coming back to Newcastle and coming back to my hometown, I'm implementing what that fifth ceremony taught me. And it is just the power of my mind. And without having learnt that lesson, like, you know, you get told all these things like, you know, you're the creator, you're this and you're that. But when you actually understand and actually feel the depth and the power behind the meaning of what is being said by all these, you know, these life coaches, these mindset people that are saying and preaching all this stuff, when you actually feel it and actually understand it and actually go through it, you realize how powerful you are. And I realized that, you know, biblical terms, heaven and hell, right? First experience was I went to heaven. Fourth experience, I went to hell. It's nothing but it's an ideology, right? Yeah. It's a mental state.
It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. Yeah. It's a mental state of being. You get to choose through your actions if you want to live in heaven and hell. And yeah, there are going to be external forces at play, right? That are going to, you know, I could have taken a lot of the things that I've gone through since as, you know, poor me, this, or, you know, and being back in that victim mentality. But instead, like, I am the cause and effect now. I know that I am God himself. The consciousness that inhabits me, that inhabits you, is that higher power, that God energy. I hate using the word God because it has, you know, a very negative connotation around it, but that the principle of God is that higher power within you. You can control your outer reality, but you can't control it until you learn to control yourself and control your own emotions.
I think to fully understand it, yes, but I think that a lot of people are guided through life through religions because they don't even have much self-awareness of what's happening within themselves. So they do things like prayer, which is exactly the same thing as manifest. Prayer, ask and you shall receive. How's it any different than writing down your goals in a journal? Speaking to existence, you know, all these things that come from being the power of yourself, they bypass it and they go straight to an external force, like God is without of me.
Yeah.
And I think that the concept still works for a lot of people. It guides them in the right direction and they feel what it feels like to have a God. You know what I mean? I believe in God myself, but it simultaneously works by God living through me. You know, like, it doesn't mean God doesn't exist, doesn't mean that I'm not God. I just believe in the presence because I feel it, but I can only ever feel it from within. I can't feel it's hard to say. I also feel it externally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all the same thing.
So do I, though. Like, I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious by any sense, but, like, you know, I definitely feel it come from within, but it's also all around me as well.
Yeah.
And I just believe consciousness itself is God.
Yeah.
You know, the consciousness that inhabits the trees and the birds and the bees and you and me. It is all the same thing. Like, we are no different. That is God's energy. But yeah, it's crazy to think, like, you know, heaven and hell is just a state of being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what you said about prayer, like putting the things out into the universe, that is manifestation, like you said, but also because everything is in two, right? There's always two sides to the coin. In order, like when you pray, you also have to meditate, because when you're in a meditative state, you're in that state of receiving. When you're in that prayer state, you're in that state of, putting out there what you want. But when you meditate, you are open to receiving all those answers and the things that you want. So you need to do both. And now throughout my travels after I left, the Amazon and went through Colombia, I was I was praying before every meal. I was meditating daily. It definitely changed my life and changed my mindset.
Of course it would have changed your life. You've changed my life, honestly, hearing your experience of it. So, I think I'd go for it myself. The concept of heaven and hell, in my perspective, the couple pins I put along there, right? I think a lot of things can work simultaneously. I'm not saying I've got any answers, right? But the idea of reincarnation, the idea of life becoming life again, all these things, they make sense. But also the idea of dying and going to an afterlife where there is heaven and hell makes sense as well. Because if we are just dying and then becoming back into a pool of consciousness, what if the state of mind of what heaven and hell is just a state of reflection on the goodness that you've had on this impact of life, everyone with you, everything you felt, everything you did, how everyone else felt. And what if the idea of hell is how you impacted everyone else? You're finally becoming aware to the fact that we are all going through the same thing together. I'm not an individual anymore. I'm now a part of God. I'm back in I'm in the spirit of heaven, all these biblical terms. All of it can make sense to me, so I do my best to try and follow and practice and do what they say. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean I believe that homosexuals should go to hell, but it does mean that I try and go to church every Sunday. You know what I mean? I think I'm trying to pick and part what I want, but what you say makes a lot of sense. It is a state of mind.
Yeah.
And I think it's a state of mind, not just of existence, but of reflection. Was my life terrible, or was my life great? You know? And I think one thing that I know that I pinned on was you saying, why did I have to go through this 4th day? It was so miserable, it was so horrible. It was only on the 5th day that you realized I had to go through that to realize I'm in control. And just like you prophesied before, on the 3rd night, everything that comes up in your life now, why did they have to do that? Why have to go through this? Why have to do that? It's because you're going to need it later. You know what I mean? You have to experience something shit now because later you needed to learn the lesson. I had to go through those bad... I've used the example of relationships, but I had to meet those bad friends that stole from me, took from me, lied to me, because it better equipped me for later when I expected different from someone else. I've been through this before.
Absolutely.
It's we have to go through the bad shit because I believe life's testing us. It's showing us. Just like ayahuasca showed you the bad shit, it led you to the point where you're like, I needed that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's the thing, though. One does not exist without the other. You know what I mean? You couldn't have all of these good experiences and these good relationships and, without having the shit ones. And they're simultaneous. This energy that makes up consciousness is made up of darkness and lightness. This principle of the two energies at play. Energy would not exist without the juxtaposition of one and the other. Duality is in absolutely everything. Man, woman, sun, moon, day, night, up, down, dark, light. It's in everything.
Yeah.
One cannot exist without the other. And you have to be at total peace within that principle in order to be able to, move on and evolve, essentially.
And it's almost... For the example, light cannot exist without darkness. It's hot cannot exist without cold.
Exactly.
But the truth is, and I only know this because I'm a refrigeration mechanic, it's what I do for a trade, but cold isn't real. Cold is just the absence of heat. So darkness doesn't exist. It's not real. It's just the absence of light. Light is the real thing. Happiness is the real thing. Heat is the real thing. So it's life, death doesn't really exist.
No.
It's only life that exists, and you kind of made me feel on the 4th day, you experienced what it was like to feel total sadness and misery when you experienced what it was like to not live, to not exist, to not...
Yeah, I was nothing. Because I was nothing in nobody.
Yeah, and that's the point of life in a way, you know what I mean? To live, to experience, to love, to laugh. darkness doesn't really exist. It's just the absence of what is great. So that's the thing that we should always be looking for in the first place.
Absolutely. And I think like, you know, on that 5th ceremony, like entering back into that and then having that like understanding and having that awareness of like, you know, the light still exists. Just go find it. You know what I mean? It's right there. Just look at it and you'll see it.
Yeah.
But I had to tell myself that in order for me to get out of that darkness and move toward the light and see the light again. But it was just, you know, my own conscious awareness, my own self-reflection, you know.
And it's also I think one of the important things I want to say as well in that is like you were aware that lightness existed, but you had to decide to go towards it.
Yes.
And as you were saying, you know, you can pray and ask for all these things to manifest, but you have to meditate and do the work in order to get the thing you want. If the same thing works externally, if you want to achieve the physique you want, you have to go through the steps. If you want the financial freedom, you have to go through the steps. It's action that creates the feeling of bliss and light and love and life and all these things. It's the process you put yourself through. You can't just know it exists and experience it. There's
thinking, doing, being.
Oh, I like that. Thinking, doing, being. I'm gonna write that one down.
Yeah.
So, but there's a point that Andrew Tate made recently on a podcast, and I've said this. I've been wanting to say this on a podcast ever since. So shout out to him for saying it. But he said, God will give to those who make effort. And he said, David didn't just sit around and hope Goliath fell down. He picked up a stone and he did it himself. And I heard that and I thought like, fuck yes. Anything that I want, I can make happen. I just have to be willing to do it.
Absolutely.
You know? Absolutely.
You have to be willing to put in the work to get what you want in life. Nothing's just going to come magically to you. But yeah, I think that principle, like that is beautiful how he said it like that. But yeah, thinking, like having the thought of, you know, whatever it may be in your life, like, you know, for you, for example, you had the thought of, okay, well, I want to start a podcast and I want to get people on here, and then you had to do it. So you had to, you know, go and get all your equipment and make this room what it is. And then now you're taking the action, like, you know, I bet the first time that you ever did it, like, you know, you were scared, you had all this fear, anxiety, like, you know, you were doing or whatever. But then through action and repetitive, like you kept going, thinking, doing, being, and eventually now what? You're up to episode
130 something.
Yeah, and we're here having this conversation, you know what I mean? And then imagine what's going to come as well in the future for you if you just keep having these thoughts and sticking to what you want to do, taking the right actions to do it.
It's awesome, eh? It's like all you have to do is just make the simple steps in order to do it. I've always wanted to be able to be someone that can hold down a conversation. I've never been good at it. I've never been good at public speaking, being in front of people, attention, eyes on me. I've never liked it. I've always wanted it, but I've never liked it. And it's like, even in the first few journeys, as you said, doing the podcast, like, fuck, what do I say? I hope I don't fuck this up. I'm fucking doing 30 hours of study before every episode. And it's, I don't want to sound too arrogant and cocky, but I'm so comfortable doing an episode now because I just know I'm going to enjoy the conversation. You know? And that is just by going down the steps of doing that equaled being, you know? Yeah, it's
crazy.
Sick.
But yeah.
I hate the fact that we're going to have to wrap up this episode, you know what I mean? Like, fuck, it annoys me so much. Because
everything must come to an end. Death is inevitable.
Yeah. I guess there is no podcast. There just isn't podcast. Yeah. All right. Well, I tell you what, you've really painted me a great picture of what the experience of what ayahuasca was like. But however, I've also noticed that you've been very reflective, and I guarantee you've gained so much experience through life just going through this. Not just this. You've traveled here. That's hit Europe. That's hit South America, Egypt. I've done that as well, you know. You've done all these things. So it's like, I'm glad so much this episode was about ayahuasca.
Yeah.
But I do want to hear about some of the insights you have, because we've already gone down a spiritual, energetic, trance-like state of mind, all right, with this episode. And if you're ever up for it, I'd love to have another episode in the future where we can talk about all the woo-woo shit. Yeah. Because so far it's just the experience.
Got so much woo-woo shit. Some of them like, should I share that? Yeah, fuck it, I'm going to share it anyway.
What about if we're doing the episode, every second story going to be like, actually, nah, not putting that in there. No chance. It'll be like a 10-minute episode, hey? We just realised, like, nah.
I'm so comfortable with being that woo-woo bitch now, you know what I mean? I'm not like most, you know, I will own it, and I am very, very spiritual and a bit wee. But you know what? I'm happy being it. I'm in total self-acceptance.
Well, I have to say, Abby, you have absolutely enlightened me to what the experience of ayahuasca could be like. Just because it was like it for you doesn't mean it will be the exact same for me.
Absolutely.
But just to know what's possible that someone can experience and to be honest, this is what I love about the podcast, and it's what I love about the woo-woo side of life. I really do manifest things towards me, and I prove it to myself week after week. If I go back 10 weeks and I watch what I spoke about, I became the episode 10 weeks later. Like I draw that to my life somehow. And I was researching ayahuasca experiences for days leading up to this episode. And it wasn't until Alex decided, you know, I think your story should be heard on the podcast. Like I know someone who does it. Like it just magically worked. It just brought it to my existence, you know?
Isn't that crazy? Like
it's crazy.
You were talking about string theory, about that sort of like law of attraction and all that sort of stuff. Well, I remember I sat down this one day. I was having a really shit day. Like I'm not going to lie. I was really mentally fucked this particular day, and I was talking to my grandmother's photo. She's passed away, but I was talking to her, and I felt like she was there, and I honestly believe she was the one that told me. She was like, you need to write down your experience, because as I said, I didn't do much journaling while I was there. It was all very just, you know, self-reflective. But this one day I sat down and I wrote dot points, and then I was just like, and then from those dot points I just sat on my computer and I wrote 6 pages of my ayahuasca experience, which I might post and share with everyone, because it's hard to put it into words, but I would love to share what I've written. And then probably about that time I read it to my mother, and she was like, holy wow, like you need to share this, Abby, like people need to hear this, like you need to share your story. And I was like, yeah, but much the same to you, like, you know, I don't really like all eyes on me. I'm a bit like, you know, a bit like that too. And I didn't know how to share it. And then like the way me and Alex got in contact was literally because I was like, I know that I need to share it. How am I going to share it? And then so I hit him up and said, hey, like, do you know like any good microphones to use or whatever? And he's like, yeah, borrow mine. And then I tried to speak into the microphones and say it out loud to myself. And I was just watching it back going, oh, I'm definitely not posting that. That sounded awful. And then, you know, weeks later now here we are. And then you've obviously looked into hearing ayahuasca experiences. I've looked into sharing it. And then now we've connected and the universe just works in weird and wonderful ways like that. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. This life is beautiful. It's just the number one thing I take away from every episode. It's life. Life is beautiful, and don't expect anything, because it'll shock you even more, you know?
Absolutely.
I think
one thing I live by is like have no attachments and like no expectations, you know?
No expectations.
Yeah, no expectations.
I love it.
You know what you want, chase what you want, think, do, be, but, you know, don't hold on to anything.
I love it. Yeah. Well, I can't let it go without asking you my final question, which is the same question I ask every single guest that has been on the podcast so far. And there is no right or wrong answer for this question. It's just from your perspective. So if someone did come to you because they were feeling depressed, mostly because they were just lost, is there any advice you would give that person?
Yeah, I think there is. I would say find what you're passionate about. Find the small things in life that make you happy. It doesn't matter what it could be. It could be, you know, dead set, picking a pimple. Like whatever you like to do, chase it and go after it. Like for me, it's writing. I love writing poetry. I can sit there for hours and just put myself in a trance-like state writing poetry. And it might be different for everyone, you know what I mean? Exercising, going out and getting out into the sunshine, putting your feet in nature. I'm so big on that. Like grounding yourself in nature is a massive, massive thing that I do when I'm feeling down or depressed, and it works every time for me. But yeah, finding little things that you're passionate about, that make you happy, getting outside into nature, making sure you're getting enough vitamin D, drinking enough water, and also surrounding yourself with people that are going to uplift you, and making sure that, you know, you're around positive people, because I think like who you surround yourself with like can directly reflect your state of being. Yeah. Like I've surrounded myself with some pretty horrible people, and, you know, I became the next horrible person. But if you surround yourself with uplifting people and people that are inspiring and people that are taking action to better themselves, and you're going to start taking action to better yourself as well.
Yeah, I love that. It's a perfect answer. There's like it's I don't know, I don't want to say it's not really that hard, because when you're going through it is the hardest thing you'll ever have to experience. But once you've gone through it, you can realize it was the simple things. You know, it was the sunlight, the water, the drinking, the surrounding myself with people that make me feel good. It's these things. So it's like, if you can't tell yourself that in the moment, like if you can't tell someone in the moment it's simple, then people should at least know, all right, people are going to tell me it's simple, so let's just do the simple things. It's really not that hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just have to know it's not that hard.
Yeah.
And the problem is you don't know it when you're going through it. You know?
No, I know, right? I know. It's when you're going through it, everything seems so dark and the simple things seem so irrelevant and insignificant into what you're obviously going through. But it is really the simple things that are going to pull you out of it. You know what I mean? Grounding yourself. And, just surrounding yourself with positive people and doing the things that make you happy. Doesn't matter what it is, you know?
And let's be real. If you're in a state of mind where you're not feeling good, you're probably feeling stressed and anxious, you'll probably get a pimple. So just start by popping that fucking pimple. Yeah,
popping that pimple. I get so much satisfaction out of popping pimples. I watch Dr. Pimple pop on the regular. Like, I love that shit. It's gross ass, but I love it. Yeah. That gives me satisfaction.
Well, I love the final answer. I've loved the entire episode. I've loved the fact that you've gone on this journey because you haven't just enlightened me, but I guarantee anyone that I know that's listening to this podcast are going to go, fuck, that was hectic. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I thank you for the gift in which you gave this episode, and I hope in the future someday we can shoot another one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's only just like the first snippet of my travels overseas, and I've got plenty of other stories to share from the rest of my South America trip.
Yeah, that was like a few days.
That was just a few days, yeah. So absolutely, I'd love to dive into it, and hopefully next time I'll feel a little bit less anxious. First podcast, but you did well. You crushed it. I enjoyed it, and so easy to talk to you, and so nice to get to know you.
Thank you. Well, for everyone who listened as well, thank you for making it to the end of the episode. It was an amazing week this week. As you've seen, there'll be another one next week. That's a wrap.
Thank you. Gang.